Mm-hmm. Are we live? Whoa. Let me know, because I'll...
I'm giving directions to Allie, by the way.
Oh, okay. Oh, that picture looks awesome.
It does look awesome.
That looks great.
It looks even better now.
I'm going to hand this over to you, and you guys can do your thing. So... Oh, look at that. It's on live on Facebook right now. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so can I tweet it out? Okay, here we go, folks. We're live. Sean, you and Todd go first because I do this radio hit in about 5 minutes. So, all right, so this mic's on. Sean, that's yours, baby. You're on. Take it away. Just tell them what we're doing. Just bullshit. You guys can sit down.
Well, this is look at Vic's got us in the new age. You can sit there.
Okay.
So, you're high maintenance already.
Yeah, didn't take long, did it?
No.
Just want to make sure it was on front.
And the whole internet thing, this whole internet thing is kind of freaking me out that you can just kind of be on everywhere. That, you know, Gang Hong China and whatever, you can sit there and watch Sean Zhou on Vic Lombardi's website.
Hey, can you back up Puerto Rico? Watch
Right, it is. Do you have to give the obligatory VicLombardi.com
We're live
shout
right
out?
now? This is
Oh, yeah, this is it.
All right, okay. Yeah, we're with the.
Oh, you did? Dude, I got a video. Here you go. No, I got a video for you to watch.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah,
Sacco says at gmail.com.
I got his links.
Sacco says at gmail.com.
There it is. Sacco's the man, isn't he? Sacco is the man. Sacco, that's a really cool handle. Sacco says. So what's going on?
Hey, we're out here at the draft. Of course, you know, you can see from the microphone the VicLombardi.com right here. Oh, there we go. That's going to make it easier. Thank you.
Oh, look at that. Oh, and you got blue ones. How does that?
Look at that. Our engineer Delio all over it.
Delio's the man. You know, we spent the Super Bowl together. You know, I went out there. He didn't know that I was going to be crashing with the Lombardi brothers at the Super Bowl.
Not the. I think we're standing under. What are we doing? Is that you or me? There we go.
There you go. You're all dialed in now.
All right. Well, we're sitting here. Obviously, we're on Vic Lombardi's channel, but Vic, of course, is now out and about doing some other things for radio because he's a popular guy. But we'll hold the fort until he gets back. We're out here, obviously, at Dove Valley at the Broncos draft. We're a few picks in. The Broncos picks will be later today. It should be about 9:30 at night, assuming they pick. Now, Todd Romero, of course, from Altitude. Todd, it sounds to me as if the Broncos may very well trade out of this pick. Now, I've advocated for that. You and I were talking about this just a little bit earlier, and you were adamantly opposed.
Well, and it's just, and it never used to be that way. But the reason now is because when you're the first round pick, you get the 5-year contract, so you're on your rookie deal for a year after. So let's say you hit a home run, you get the player you want, you get that guy. Well, you've got him for 5 years. And not only that, you can franchise tag him. So all of a sudden, you've got that player for 6 years. That's half his NFL career. And 5 of those are on a rookie contract. So, you know, and I've had points taken. You know, if you want a player after the 3rd year, maybe. But when you're looking at dollars and cents now and how much a team can change in a year, just think of the Broncos. Osweiler was a 2nd-round pick.
Right.
But if he was a 1st-round pick, he would have had the extra 5th year. Von Miller would have been a contract year this year, and you could have franchised him next year.
Yeah, but
if he was
you
that
have
guy.
to make sure you have to get the guy. That's the question.
In 6 games, I'm telling you, right? I was not comfortable at the money.
No,
but then you look at the quarterbacks. Here's the dilemma.
Look at this beginning of the draft, right? You have 2 teams in Philadelphia and in LA, basically
drafted
to
for
a certain extent mortgaging the future, at least in the next couple drafts, to go acquire Jared Goff and go acquire Carson Wentz, the 2 first picks in this draft. It does seem at this point this league is so quarterback needy that now you're running into a situation where if you can play quarterback at all, teams are going to move all the way up to get you.
Absolutely.
These guys really weren't considered the top 2 teams, top 2 guys available in this draft. Looks like the
just
Titans
had a trade
are
come
about
in that came in for the Cleveland Browns. So they traded with the Browns to get up to number 8.
So the pick for Tennessee, Jack Conklin. gets selected, a tackle. Now Laramie Tunsil, who about a month ago was considered the very
Number one
best
pick.
number one pick in the draft,
Yeah, it slid.
Now the Titans, who traded out of that top spot, who traded all the way out to the spot there to go ahead and get to the Rams, so they could get Goff. Ostensibly, they wanted Laramie Tunsil. Now they trade up with Cleveland, and they go ahead and get another tackle, not Tunsil. Now, of course, earlier today, if you hadn't seen it, it should be easy enough to see. Laramie Tunsil tweeted out a photo, at least from his account. I was going to say it's hacked, like they always
Could it
do,
be
right?
a bong, perhaps?
Yeah. Looked like
Gas mask?
It was a gas mask bong. These are things in all the years we've covered sports I really didn't think I'd ever be talking about, but that's where we are. And
in a legalized, and
how far
almost
does
in
he fall?
Colorado.
How far does he fall now?
Well, here's
I
the
mean,
difference.
These guys have interviews with these teams, and if anything funny happens, they get dropped out.
Well, here's the difference.
Eli Apple got picked on for poor cooking by a scout.
You've seen it now. Okay, the Broncos obviously in the last couple drafts with Shane Ray, and even before Shane Ray with Roby.
Right.
There were some issues, some character issues.
Sure.
But the Broncos were okay
Marijuana
with that.
in the same case
and
with Ray.
marijuana in the same case. But there's a difference between being caught and not shoving it, and then all of a sudden visibly saying, "Here this is," almost in the face of that. Now, whether he says it's been hacked or it was somebody else.
Somebody else posted, right?
You know how it is. It's always easier. Okay, listen, I got a little issue. That's not who I am. That won't happen again. Other than saying, here, this is me, and I'm showing you that.
Right.
I was never caught by anybody, but here you go.
That's so much of a part of it too, because Todd, when you look at these first round picks today, when you look at these guys and they end up getting selected, they are a part of your company's brand.
Absolutely.
One way or the other, they become part of your company's brand as an NFL player. And messing up now on social media, which is so easy to do, is such a red flag, because if you do that as a member of an NFL team, it's a disaster. It's an abject public relations disaster, and it probably is a worthy reason for a lot of teams to maybe take a look in some other direction.
Well,
so in Tunsil's case, this is a multi-million-dollar mistake on his part.
Now, if he's that great player, can you make that up perhaps down the road? Absolutely, you can make that up. But why put yourself in that situation? I mean, listen, these guys have their off season.
Here we are, by the way, on social media.
Do
talking
whatever
about this,
you want
go.
in your off season.
Sure.
Okay. When you're on the Bermuda, wherever you may want to vacation at, but why draw attention in this day and age? Why draw attention to it?
Yeah, put the cell phones away. Not bad advice for a whole bunch of people being
As
public
I'm on mine, exactly.
As you're on yours.
Well, Jim Sacamano, I had an email him
It's
something, so.
necessary evil. Well, coming up now, of course, they've made the trade. Cleveland moved down. Tampa Bay is on the clock. You're looking at Tampa Bay, then the Giants, and then the Bears. The Broncos, of course, still expected to pick 31st at the moment, unless there are trade situations. The top two quarterbacks off the board, as we talked about, Goff and Wentz. Next up, basically the consensus third best quarterback is Paxton Lynch, somebody who might be in consideration for the Broncos at 31. But the way there's the run on quarterbacks, it's entirely possible he's not there. And maybe even someone like Connor Cook or even Christian Hackenberg could still go in this first round. So the Broncos may not find their solution at quarterback in this particular round. This is something that it wouldn't surprise me if they either had to make a trade to go in that direction or if they needed to do something else in order to get that quarterback. But I don't think the solution, Todd, even if, let's go down to 31, and even if Paxton Lynch is still there, even if somebody they like is still there, selecting him doesn't necessarily fix the problem.
No.
We've seen too many quarterbacks get thrown into the fire, and unless you're a very special one like Andrew Luck, there are a lot of reasons to believe that it's not a good idea to take these quarterbacks right off the bat and throw them in there. So in this particular case, when you look at someone like Paxton Lynch, let's say the Broncos pick him at 31. Let's say he falls. Let's say all those things happen, and that's a lot of ifs.
He's not starting next year.
He still probably doesn't start.
No.
You're still talking about Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
So this is where
Which
I look
I'm
at
okay
it.
with. People may say that's not. I'm okay with that, and we can talk about that a little bit. But let me say something.
Because
let me
we're
tell you
not on
something
the
this.
same line.
No, but let me tell you something about this. We talked about the gambles and what. In LA's situation, it's kind of like the Broncos. And say what you want. The Broncos just won the Super Bowl. You're used to being in the Super Bowl as a Broncos fan. But you buy yourself a little time with the Super Bowl championship.
Of course.
I mean, the roof's not going to
There's
fall
a
here in 2
honeymoon
years. There's a
period,
honeymoon
right.
period. And I think that with my wife ended a long time ago. I don't get that anymore. And then now that Altitude's on her off season, can golf season get here soon?
This is live,
Right,
by the way.
But I know. I'm
Okay.
just telling you. I'm just saying that can golf season get here
It's your
soon?
funeral.
So I'm not always at the house.
Right.
But listen, in LA's situation, they're going to a new market. They needed to make a splash. They
Right.
go with Goff.
And you get a guy from Cal.
I think the
somebody
better
comfortable with.
quarterback was coming from North Dakota State and Wentz.
But
I did
another
his
guy
second
that's
game.
not going to be immediate. Another guy
Right.
that's not going to be able to
But
step in and be effective.
He's a guy that coming in off 3 national championships that they had won prior to him, had pressure to win right away, to continue winning right away, to be successful. I did his second game against Weber State, who Weber State is not a very good football team, but I saw great things. I think he'll be a better pro than Goff.
It's going to take a while, and this is where I think when you talk about Paxton Lynch or any of the quarterbacks the Broncos could draft, I'm not sure there's anyone they draft that beats Mark Sanchez for the job in week 1. So this is where the quarterback situation for me seems very interesting. Unless they make a trade for Colin Kaepernick or maybe Sam Bradford.
Okay, but all right, stop you right there.
Okay.
Who do you want between those two?
Kaepernick.
Yeah, me
mile.
too. And
There's
anybody
question.
that thinks
I've been saying that since November.
Interest, and I've heard you say it.
Yeah.
I've got no interest in Sam Bradford.
No.
The man you just said it a minute ago, made of glass.
Right.
He's a Band-Aid. The reason I like Mark Sanchez is a Band-Aid.
Sanchez is a Band-Aid too, but he's a lot cheaper.
$4.5 million
right.
a year.
He's cheaper. So, but when you look at the Broncos, if they don't make the trade, if the argument is to look at a couple of the positions of need for the Denver Broncos and to improve them for this upcoming season as an opportunity to defend their Super Bowl championship, the answer in quarterback is not in this draft, not for this year.
No.
So if you were going to look at the Broncos and say, how did they get better for this year, for this upcoming season?
Restock
in an
on
opportunity,
defense.
It has to be to restock
Yep.
on defense.
You've already done the
Nobody they
offensive
pick a
line.
quarterback solves that immediately,
No.
not this fall.
Listen, you and I talked about this when the Broncos were at the Super Bowl. The fact that this team won a Super Bowl with a 39-year-old quarterback that couldn't throw a 15-yard at it anymore,
Right.
a quarterback that had not started a game, and they band-aided those two together, and the fact that you had maybe one of the worst offensive lines in the history of the game at the Super Bowl level win a championship. And I don't know who I'm offended by that, except for the 5 guys that started on that offensive line. You've already retooled your offensive line with Russell Okung at left tackle. You
Donald
got Stevenson
Stevenson at
coming
right.
in from right tackle. Tyson Brilos sliding in. You got Max Garcia. And then Paradis, who's started at every snap.
You're really
for the
looking
Broncos.
at one guy starting in the same spot already.
But
that
an
overhaul.
upgrade from what everybody
Certainly, yes.
from that. And you won the Super Bowl? So who's to say Mark Sanchez is not going to work here?
Well, here would be, to play devil's advocate with you, here's why. Because, Todd, when you look at the history of great defenses in the NFL, especially in the Super Bowl, you think about the Steel Curtain. These are all
right.
and they're all pre-free agency.
Yeah.
You look at a team
Yep.
like Seattle, which had really every paradigm. You look at they had everything maxed. They had all the boxes.
How long
checked.
did that window
right.
last?
They had the physical corners. They had the ability to rotate out pass rushers, and still 1 year, and then they had a very tough time. Now, were they competing for the? Yes, they were. Did they have the opportunity to make a run? Yes, they did. But for defenses, some of what happens is very special and it's very unique. And finding a way to keep that together year in and year out, that becomes very tough. In the Broncos situation, they have most of those players back. Really, the starters they've lost: Danny Trevathan, an inside linebacker.
Right.
Malik
Lost 2
Jackson
starters.
on the outside.
Lost 2 starters. And some players that.
And the defensive end, that's a hole. Now, the Broncos
Right.
have had luck in the past filling that linebacker spot. Before Danny Trevathan
Right.
played on the inside, he played on the outside.
Right.
Before that, Wesley Woodyard played on the inside, first played on the outside. Is it possible that if Todd Davis can't hack it, and he's played very well, given no indication that he couldn't, that maybe someone like Shaquille Barrett can slide in, or someone like Shane Ray, who's got good size, can slide in and play here and there?
I don't know that you want to take guys that are already adept at what they're doing, and
Especially
I know
if they're young.
With Shaq, I mean, look at the Broncos in recent years, and this is where, Sean, I disagree with a lot of the draft. I don't look a lot at who's in the first round. I mean, you're going to hear those names the most, right? But I try to find and I got a player in mind that I think is going to be an All-Pro in 5 years. He's going to get drafted until the 5th round. And I'm talking about Nick Vigil from Utah State. He's an inside linebacker. His brother played. His brother was a free agent, made it with the Dolphins. Vigil, he's coming out his junior year. He's 240. He's a little light, plays inside. But he's a football. He's not – listen, until they go in the wide receiver and in the positions and they're wearing track shoes and cutoffs, I could care less about the 40
Oh, yeah, that
time.
doesn't matter.
I
That
want to
doesn't
know
matter.
about football speed and who can play,
Right.
like Tyrone Braxton did here, like Carl Mecklenburg did here.
Carl Mecklenburg's great. I had an opportunity to speak with him this winter a little bit about some of those things, especially the combine and stuff like that. And of course, famously, he did not perform well and was
Right.
drafted late. And Carl brought up a very good point when he talked about the 40 for him, especially at his position, which ostensibly was linebacker, but he played all along the
Yeah.
line, all the linebacker spots. Basically said, I can count on one hand how many times I ran 40 yards straight.
Yeah,
on any play, ever. In a straight line.
Randy Gradishar couldn't run in a straight line at the end
Yeah,
of school.
that's
His
not it.
knees and stuff like.
Mecklenburg basically agreed. He said the same thing. Did it matter? Didn't
Bears
really matter
just
on
went
that.
with the Leonard Floyd, linebacker.
Leonard Floyd is an explosive
Yes.
player. That is going to be a very good pull
Quick
for them.
off the ball. He
They
can
will
move
love him
laterally.
in Chicago. He's a really, really
Big
talented
boy
guy.
too. 6'5". 244.
So when you look at the way that these guys do kind of profile out, especially the combine workouts, and we talked about Carl Mecklenburg's comments on it. Rod Smith also has made some outstanding comments about it that pointed out that is a guy that wasn't drafted.
Free agent, one of probably the greatest free agent wide receiver ever. Is there anybody better?
No,
and should be
there
in
is
the
not.
Hall of Fame.
Absolutely should be. But he talked about how in this case, in any of these cases, when these draft players they're picked, the shock is not necessarily the ability level of the NFL that trips them up. It is the fact that the workload is so much higher and so much more intense than anyone expects. He basically made the argument, and I'm inclined to agree over the course of what I've seen over my career, that the best indicator of success for a player at the NFL level is not physical ability. We've seen plenty of great players with physical ability not pan out.
Right.
It is the ability to focus, to concentrate on your workload, and to consistently work at your craft. The people who succeed at that, and the Broncos have had very good luck. Rod Smith is one of really started a parade of players. Currently, Chris Harris, Jr., C.J. Anderson,
Shaq Barrett.
these are all
free
players
agents.
that are college, undrafted college free agents, but they're willing to put in the work.
You said the key word to me. Consistency.
Right.
You Ron Smith, you weren't going to find anybody that was going to outwork Rod Smith. You weren't going to find people that were going to come in and study better. It's not, and sometimes I think it's either this is the three categories I have in life, and this doesn't matter what you're doing, whatever job it is that you do. You either have it naturally, you work to get it, or you're never going to have it.
Yes, exactly. And the step up from the college to the NFL level is enormous. When these guys, maybe you do have the ability, maybe you even have the high motor in college, but that's not going to be good enough to make you great in the
No.
pros. So everything you thought you've ever done is still not going to be good enough. You have to step it up at the work level, you have to step it up in the film room, all of those things. And if any of those things trip you up, either you're not very good at getting the playbook. We've seen some players, even on the Broncos, that maybe the playbook delayed was some of the problem. They didn't get through all of it.
Right.
Work ethic was there, but you're not learning the plays. Any of those things. There's all these little, for lack of a better term, legs of the stool. You have your film workout. You have your ability to stay fit. You have your ability to make sure you go out there on every single play practice or scrim or what have you in mini camps.
Well,
and
it's
go hit
changed,
it.
and you know what? You just brought the
But,
ability
one,
to stay
one
fit.
of those legs drops, it doesn't work.
There's the man right now, VicLombardi.com.
Vic Lombardi.
But Vic and I talked about this.
People are chatting. You can chat with people.
Oh, we can
too.
chat. Well,
but
dude,
we
listen,
don't see it. So
Vic,
we'll,
I'm
we'll
old.
figure that out.
See, I'm old, so
I'm
I'm trying to figure
Daniel
this
come
out.
back out here to figure out the chat things. All right, so
Okay.
you guys will be able to chat.
See,
You guys
Vic
come
goes
back
with his brother that figures everything out for him, and he kind of takes the
in.
credit.
You guys following all
Yeah, we are.
We are.
We're
so,
good.
all of you chatting out there, thank you very much. We're not ignoring you. We just
And
can't
if
see
there's a
you.
gleam on my face because it's bouncing off,
It's
his
reflecting-
dome.
yeah,
it's,
this
it's bouncing off his dome. But you brought something you said about staying fit,
Right.
and this would
There's
make
no,
Kenny
there's no
Stabler
off
roll
season.
over in his
You
grave.
don't show
and
up to
Fred
training camp
Biletnikoff.
20 pounds overweight anymore.
No, and you better watch what you're putting in nutrition-wise. Shaq Barrett credited Von Miller teaching him how to be a pro, but not only that, changing his diet completely with reforming him from a player, from a guy that was on the practice squad and I think active for 1 year his
Right.
rookie season to almost the rookie of the year last year in a limited role. People say, oh, he kind of fell off at the end. No, he didn't. He was playing less because you got wear back.
Right.
Shaq Barrett was a big factor in this team winning the Super Bowl.
And he
The
will be
Cleveland
coming
game,
up this year
the
when
Cleveland game, the
DeMarcus
Detroit
Ware is
game.
going to be back.
And they're gonna-
they need to use him more situationally
Absolutely.
at his age. So you're going to expect Shane
Keep him
Ray
fresh, rotate.
and Shaq Barrett are going to need to play major roles, even if it is again in rotation, simply because you're going to need more rotation for DeMarcus Ware to keep him healthier and fitter and ready to go at full speed at the end of the season, where the Broncos want to find themselves in the playoffs again.
And-
so
and-
another
and-
interesting spot for these guys. And people look at a guy like Shane Ray, a first-round pick, and say, all right, well, probably he should look to start his second year. It's something John Elway has indicated. He likes his high picks to start in the second year that they're available. Maybe Shane Ray breaks through that. Maybe he doesn't. And that's okay. That's not necessarily a problem, because the amount of snaps available on defense for some of these guys, when you're looking at what's going to happen with DeMarcus Ware especially, you're going to need it. The Broncos have learned on a couple different occasions you just can't have enough depth. And even if you have a guy that's a reasonably high pick, if he's playing well, Shane Ray and Shaq Barrett, totally different paths. One first rounder,
Yep.
one undrafted guy. Both of them playing very, very well when they could and when they were called upon at the end of the season. They'll expect them to do that even if they aren't starting next season.
There's Dalio right there. He's dialing
he's
us in
right
right
there.
here, yeah. And
This
Vic.
Laramie Tunsil thing
Yes.
is crazy.
It's blown up, isn't it?
It's crazy. And you wonder if it's crazy enough
That he'll
where
drop.
a guy that got high comes to the Mile High City.
where, of course, it's legal, but not legal in the NFL.
That's not a red flag to you?
Everybody
Dude,
they've gotten
their last two
Shane Ray
players-
gave you a red flag.
So did
Bradley
Roby.
gave you. I don't see any problem with it.
Hey,
And
Von
you know
Miller-
my take on the Devil's
Listen,
lettuce too.
Listen, Von Miller will give you a red flag after he was here already, and perhaps has had the most fantastic turnaround of any player that's had these issues and see the success here. So this team's not going to be scared off.
Well, the Broncos weren't scared off. They weren't scared off by Bradley Roby. They weren't scared off by Shane Ray. They've done this already, so these kind of situations don't frighten them. They believe they have a culture here in this very room in which we're sitting that they think that this can round
Okay, I'm
guys
looking
into
at this
forms.
Super Bowl, and I was out with Vic and his brothers. I hung out. That was an interesting evening. We had breakfast at like 10 o'clock. We had a good time. But
At
I'm
night
looking
or
at
morning?
this- No, night. But, 10 o'clock at night we had breakfast at this little place by the hotel. It was
That's
cool.
the best.
It was
The late night breakfast, that's
Brenner.
the best. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Are there anybody talking about my hairline yet? And
Oh, okay.
At least, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to put my glasses on.
Oh, you got to have the glasses. All right.
Which is going to age me.
So yeah, we're coming along here. We're getting our
saw the code
folks
was.
chatting. Okay, see, we have another computer. We're going to be able to see you. Vic is spelled without the K.
Yeah, it's Vic's
With that,
VIC.
it's not Michael Vick. It's Vic with the just the
No,
C.
no, there's no. I'm holding my headset. Adela, they're giving me a hard time because I'm holding my headset because it won't stay there. Perhaps it's because now watch it gradually fall.
There it goes. Yep. You just got to put it up
So,
by your nose, I guess, and see where
yeah.
it goes. Okay, Eli Apple just selected by the New York Giants. Apparently, they weren't concerned about his cooking, which was something amazingly. One of the scouts came out and complained about his cooking.
That he couldn't make it on his own.
Eli Apple's mother, by the way,
They
then
just
pointed
took a
out.
guy who can't cook.
Right, the cooking.
That's
Did you
the
notice
problem.
that Eli Apple's mother then commented and said that, by the way, his dad is a retired 5-star chef.
No way.
And this is something you're concerned about because the presumption was if Eli Apple can't cook, his life skills are problematic to.
And for those that are waiting
by the
for
way,
Vic,
I also can't cook for what.
oh,
that's
see, I cook every meal in my house. Vic is
Three
like
Ohio
wanting to
State
make it.
guys in the first 10
10
picks.
picks?
That's pretty big.
Vic's going to make an entrance. He's one of those guys that if you go to the high school reunion, he's there,
Yeah.
hour late.
very stylish.
Just let the kind of the appetizer get you ready to go before Vic makes his
Right.
appearance, and he'll pop in every now and then. So your take on let's get back to this. You don't like the Sanchez play at all.
No, I think Mark Sanchez is a mediocre quarterback at best. I think.
What did we have last year at quarterback? Do you think?
Oh, you did. You had a mediocre quarterback as well, but Manning's mediocrity was limited by his physical.
Not his
ability,
brain.
Not his
Right.
brain. Mark Sanchez hasn't ever indicated to me that he's a particularly skilled player when it comes to thinking on the fly. He may have the physical tools, but I just don't see it otherwise. I think that in this case for Mark Sanchez, you're looking at a very pedestrian quarterback, and I don't think when the Broncos picked him up, they had any mind. We'll see. We'll have the opportunity to see, Todd.
Gizzard stew. I love that.
I don't think there was any mind whatsoever in making Mark Sanchez the week 1 starter on this team. That is not the preferred outcome.
Okay, I'm going to disagree. Jack Graham, could Laramie Tunsil fall all the way to 31, which is exactly what Vic was saying.
That would be a shocker, but it's
And then we're asking, I got a question here. The most awesome Mike Man, I'm wondering if the Broncos will trade back. And Vic and I just had this conversation. We don't think they should trade out the first round because you get that fifth year. You get that 5th year contract. For those of you that don't know, in the NFL draft, all the players, if you drafted in the first round, you can get a 5-year contract. So if you hit the home run, which we talked about, then you can add that you get the 5-year deal. Then
Yep.
you can franchise tag him. That gives you 6 years.
right.
So I don't think that
Well,
they
and you
should
can franchise
trade.
tag someone twice, theoretically.
Right, 7 years. So, which is a great point. I don't think they should trade out. I think they should stay.
I think it depends on who you get. You don't necessarily want to have yourself tied into certain player where you're not 100% comfortable. And I think that gives the Broncos a lot of luxury. Because of that value, there are a lot of teams that may want to move into the bottom of the first round. They will have trade offers for that 31st pick. They are going to get offers. They are in a wonderful position where they decide if that's the player they want.
Stockpile.
And they can stockpile. If it's a player they can keep it, they're going to have opportunities to slide in and do either way that they wanted to handle it. And it's a very good position for them to be in, thanks to having that final pick in the draft.
Okay.
And you can't really complain because the reason you have the final pick in the draft is because you're the Super Bowl
Well, you're going to
champions.
have Mr. Irrelevant this year, too. How about that, Vic? Mr. Irrelevant.
You
this year.
may
Somebody
not.
more
Where
relevant
all
than
the
me.
Compensatory one. Does Denver have the final pick? Do we
Final
know?
pick, Mr. Irrelevant.
So many compensatory picks.
But here's the deal. The Broncos have 11 draft choices.
Correct.
With their current
And I'd
salary
be surprised
situation,
if
they're
they
not gonna
select
keep them
all
all.
11.
So you
Exactly.
package them to move
Exactly.
up to get a better player that you want, which it's a point system in the first round.
Right.
Let's be honest. So the first round selections were 600 points. For them to move up to 18, from 31 to 18, it takes roughly 300 points, which is your second round draft pick.
That's why when the Broncos may trade up, you may see them trade up, or at least make some trades where they're combining the picks, but they will do it in the middle rounds. A lot of the value in this draft is going to be in the late second to early fourth round is where you can really stockpile, really get a lot of opportunity to get the ability for players that can step in and be rotation guys. The Broncos aren't looking for guys that they pick in this draft to immediately step in and start. Would that be great? Sure. They're not counting on it. They don't need it. So I think that makes this very, very interesting as well. Looks like we're starting to get, so Vic is getting ready. The one and only Les Shapiro may come in.
Look at that. He's going to have a lot of you guys will be done with us pretty soon.
Yeah, we may get tapped out for a little bit, and we'll go hit the commissary and grab some free food the
awesome
Broncos
Mike
spread out for us. So.
The awesome Mike also asks, besides the quarterback position, what position you think is the most important for the Broncos to draft?
We're going to tap out after the next one. Tag
Right.
out.
Let's do it.
Sounds great.
You guys can
As long as we get to actually tag out.
I'm starting
like
to think
wrestling.
safety, because Darian Stewart's in the final
Safety
year of
is
his deal.
a safety and defensive end. To me, those are the two. I think filling Malik Jackson's shoes is going to be very, very difficult. I don't think they have a guy ready to do it right now.
Right.
At the very least, Darian Stewart is there this year. He's this year.
Right. But he's going to get paid.
Yeah, I think that for me, defensive end is still pressing. I think it's very easy to overlook what happened with the Broncos this year and overlook at the defensive line. When you look at how exciting, the linebacking core was, Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, you look at that great defensive backfield they had, but those guys can't do their jobs effectively if there's no consistent pressure on the quarterback from the front line. And the Broncos got that. They did very, very well. I think for me, Malik Jackson, the replacement there, finding a defensive end, that's priority number one.
Or defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I like.
Because you can, Derek Wolf can move in and out. And they're going to need to find someone.
And I like the kid from Alabama,
the
defensive
line.
tackle Anton Robinson.
Sure.
I like him. Vic, you want this one? Now you have to kind of do this like what was the Mike Myers one?
This one has his name on it. He's got
Okay, well this one's gonna. Your guests are gonna have to be like. What was it, the little dude where you have to kind of hold it up like this because it starts drooping. Oh, that's what they were telling me.
There's a knob. I wasn't going to do it for you because it looked weird.
Did he just call me a knob?
No, I said there was one.
Oh, okay.
Here's Vic.
Thanks, bud. Sean, you got great handwriting, by the way.
Did you see my handwriting? It's like a 2-year-old's.
Thanks, bud.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bringing him on now?
Yeah, well, sit with me. Why don't you chat with me for a little bit, and then we'll be
There, I said you always had to make an entrance.
All right.
So did you fix my deal here?
Now you got to. You know what? I used to
think I stripped it.
Did you?
I might have.
I used to use that microphone when I did the show for the fan from my basement.
Right.
And that thing always did that. And I used to always have to hold it up like that.
So it's like what
deal.
character is it? It's Mike Myers that was in
What show?
the Super Agent, Dr. Evil. He was Dr. Evil,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he was always doing the. So I'm trying
Let's
to.
see, put Wolf inside. Well, yeah. I mean, Wolf's going to play primarily inside anyway. I mean,
Which we. The question is, Vic, and let's get your input on it. Aside from quarterback, what do the Broncos need?
they need a running back. Depth. They need depth there.
Because
need a
I don't
safety.
necessarily think they.
They need a safety.
That we
Depth.
just talked about
Yeah.
that. Darian Stewart's going in the final year.
Vernon Hargraves.
Boy,
Tampa.
Tunsil is now 20 picks away from the Denver Broncos. If he were to
You
fall,
think he'll fall that far?
Well, now you look at the defensive tackle; it's now the deepest in the draft. You've got you've got Robinson from Alabama, who I liked going into the draft. Defensive tackle from Alabama. You got the guy with the aorta,
Hey, who's this guy from Utah State you keep talking
Nick
about?
Vigil. Nick Vigil is going to be like a
where?
5th round draft choice.
Why are you talking him up so much?
Because I watched him play, man, and he's just a football player. He's like
Did you call his game, or did you?
called it. Well, following Colorado State and watching Colorado State, I had the opportunity to watch Utah State a lot. When they were back here when Garrett Grayson was a sophomore, and Utah State took him down to the wire, a 13-10 game where Colorado State kicked a 50-yarder to win it.
I remember that.
Guy's unbelievable. He's all over the field
What
all the
position?
time, inside linebacker. So he's going to be a regional player that maybe people don't know about. 240 pounds, a little light. He's put some weight on. His brother was a free agent coming out of Utah State, made it at Miami. Vigil's come out early, even though he's going to be a 4th or 5th round draft
Vigil,
choice.
okay, I'll
Nick
remember
Vigil.
that.
And I thought it was V-Hill the first time because I grew up with a bunch of V-Hills.
you're
And,
Mexican.
hashtag Northside.
Exactly. I mean, V-Hill, are you kidding
Right.
me? I grew up
So it's-
V-Hills all over
Right,
the place
so it's
in North Denver.
Vigil, and I kept telling people it's not Vigil, it's V-Hill.
It's V-Hill.
No,
Yeah.
you're a moron,
Pronounce
Romero,
it
which
correctly.
is true. But I love him, and if you turn on the film and watch him, Vic, you'll love him too.
All right, let's see if we have any questions here. Could New England move into the first round? Yeah, New
Yeah.
England could easily move into
They
the first
always
round.
move
It's gonna
back.
let me ask you this, though.
Could they move up?
If you're an opposing team, knowing full well that New England
You
wants
keep-
to play ball, you're going to ask for a lot.
A bounty.
They're
a
going to
bountiful.
kill them. They're going to kill
Absolutely.
them if they want to move up. There's no doubt they can move up. Sure, they can move up any time.
So safety. Okay. So Harris, Aqib Talib, Roby. You've lost a couple defensive
They got
backs.
Kayvon
Webster. But
Yeah.
safety. What have we had? How many safeties have we had taken yet, Vic? None.
I don't see a single
And they're-
safety.
and they're
Well, unless
deep
you
this-
consider Jalen Ramsey, who can play
Well,
both positions.
But it's supposed to be deep drafted safety.
Yeah.
Darian Stewart, you are not. If he has a repeat performance of what he did he is one of the. You remember what happened in the Broncos when they went to Pittsburgh and they were
When
without
they
both
lost
starting
Stewart
safeties.
and C.J. Ward, they were a different team.
Different team,
Different offense.
different team,
defense, I
and
should
you're
say,
not
yeah.
going to get Darian Stewart or Emmanuel Sanders. Now Sanders signed a 4-year deal. What's
Yeah.
he got left? 2 or?
I'm not certain of that. Yeah,
But
not certain.
what are you going to do at safety because you're not getting Stewart back next year unless the stars align.
It's going to be costly. But you know what? He's not one of those safeties that's going to be elite money safety.
But you
He's
see
not.
but it shows that they need somebody.
Yeah.
At safety.
Yeah. And Bruton leaving shows that they were willing to go draft a safety. 'Cause
Right.
They weren't going to pay. Bruton didn't make that much
No.
in Washington.
No.
It's not like they couldn't contend.
Well, and I heard that the offer was close, but it came down to playing time.
The most awesome Mike wants to know, do you see the Broncos picking a quarterback or trading for one? They're going to get a quarterback no matter what.
it's a matter of where they
happening.
get it.
They're going to get a quarterback. I just don't know how they're going to get a quarterback. If they get a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, okay, that leads me to believe that they're comfortable with Sanchez and they're going to
Me too. And listen, we're going to go to your radio partner, which, by the way, 1 to 4, 950 fan, Monday through Friday, you and Kyle. Altitude, jeez.
I did that the first day.
Oh, did you?
I called it the fan.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So you can be a fan of Altitude, 950. So we got in the argument the other day on the summit, and he's a big supporter of former Jets quarterback who's still out there, Fitzpatrick. And I looked at his numbers, Vic, and overall quarterback rating is 88%. But in the fourth quarter and in the final 2 minutes, 72% in the fourth quarter, 68 or 67% in the final 2 minutes is quarterback rating.
Yeah.
What made the great ones here?
Well, of
Peyton
course,
Manning, John Elway, Joe Montana,
finished
Brady.
games.
You always were in it no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think he's a turnover machine that got a little bit lucky last year. And I don't want any. So if you had your pick right now of the quarterbacks, okay, Kaepernick, Sam Bradford, which has been rumored. Who are you taking? Out of those 3, if you had to take him, so would I.
Only because I think he can be rehabilitated. There are
So
many
do
who
I.
think he cannot. There are many who think he's done. But
Take a shot with an athlete.
I think if you coach him correctly, and this is a great coaching staff for that very reason, I think he can be rehabbed. But they want to do it at their number. They want to do it at the Sanchez type number.
Which means San Francisco pays a little bit of the
Exactly.
deal,
Yeah.
and I like that. But what the reason they like the Sanchez deal is Mark Sanchez is 1 year, $4.5 million.
And you can just rid yourself of him.
then you're
in a
done.
year. Exactly.
Unless
if
he-
the experiment does work, which also leads me to believe Sanchez is your backup. If you believe Mark Sanchez is a starting quarterback, you're going to extend that contract.
But
Trust me.
don't you think that how this team won the Super Bowl with maybe, and this is no shot at them because they are maybe one of the top 5 worst offensive lines in Super Bowl history?
I've had that debate with people. It's easy to say that because I think the entire offense as a whole was just out of sorts last year.
Right.
Was it the O-line? Was it the quarterback play? Was it running? I mean, it all works together, Todd. So I hate to point to one position on the field, but yes, on paper, the O-line is greatly rehabbed.
Oh, my
On
God,
paper,
for the
on paper, let's see it play out.
Right.
We got to see what they can do. You know what's interesting? We got a question here on the chat room, and you can chat right there on the right column. Could Tunsil pull a La'el Collins from last year? Remember what happened to Collins? He completely got obliterated and had to go in the supplemental draft, and the Cowboys picked him up there, and he turned out to be one of the best offensive linemen on that crew. The bigger question is, are these guys getting set up on draft day? Collins was more a result of that was a police investigation.
Right.
So I'm
No.
not saying
It was his ex-girlfriend,
well,
correct?
He was
Right.
It ended
Bad-
up he was
bad
completely-
situation.
He was completely fine.
Which he said at the time.
Yeah, but it sort of came up late. Remember that?
Yes.
It came up
oh,
during
like
the
a day
draft.
before, 2 days before.
This Tunsil thing, this picture, this video was taken a long time ago. It's interesting how it comes
How
up
it comes up now. Yeah,
I mean, that's sort of jacked up.
it is jacked
You
up.
messing-
Whether
you're taking millions out of
did
these guys' pockets here.
somebody get offended that didn't get invited to him to a draft
I
party?
don't know.
Did
I don't know.
Did
I
he
mean,
make
you're
some
right. It could be anything.
ex-girlfriend mad?
Let's see. The only teams I can see picking Lynch are the Browns, Jets, and Chiefs.
Chiefs is definitely the problem. Is if you think that you have a chance at him, you got to get in front of the Chiefs. Which is which number, Vic?
Yeah, the Chiefs
Kansas
do need
City is
some backup help.
Kansas City's at 28, so you can get in front of them. Cincinnati doesn't need a quarterback. I look at Cincinnati at 24.
No,
Vic.
they've got AJ McCarron as a backup.
You
They're
got
not- they don't need a
Minnesota.
quarterback.
Minnesota doesn't need a quarterback. Houston for sure doesn't need a quarterback,
No,
nor can
no.
they fit it in their salary. Washington is just re-signed Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't need a quarterback.
It depends on what the Jets do.
It depends on
if
what the
the
Jets do.
determine that Fitzpatrick's not signable.
Because do you like Paxton Lynch?
I don't know.
Enough about
he
him.
ran a spread. He ran that
Which
that-
means
that
not a pro
college
set.
offense. He's got the arm. He's got all that business. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what these guys are going to do at the next level. I just know that a spread quarterback coming into this league takes much more time
To
than
adjust.
a pro quarterback. It just does. That's the bottom line.
Which they've bought themselves. Say this or not, you're not going to. John Elway will never say it public. It's about from now and now on.
Hold on, Adalio. His microphone
Yeah,
keeps
what-
falling. Fix this stuff. Can we tape it or something?
Listen, don't
I
take
know.
this as any indication of anything.
Can we fix this thing up? It's like stripped. Yeah. Can we tape it?
Oh, yeah, that would
we
fit me perfectly.
That dude took that tape up there. Just go snag it from him.
Was it bugging you? Was it starting to bother you?
No, it's just I feel for you.
Distracting?
I feel for you because I don't
Dude,
want you sitting
it's
there.
like
holding-
doing curls.
Here's the next pick. New Orleans.
2016 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Sheldon Rankins,
All right.
defensive end.
My mic's not working anymore. You can pull the plug out. No, I probably pulled the plug on.
Do you got it now? Oh, this is so much better.
Is it?
Oh, my
Okay.
hand was starting to go
good.
numb.
I'm not. Oh, there we go. Yeah. I'm good.
Ready for the stranger.
Sheldon Rankins.
Didn't get that, did you, Dalio?
All right. Let's see here. What do you think about Fitzpatrick saying I'd rather not play football than accept the Jets' offer? I think that's a smart guy doing the negotiations thing, huh? Yeah.
It's like,
all
you know what? It's the guy with power, Vic. He has the power right now
They
because he's
need
got.
him more than he needs them because if he doesn't sign there, he'll end up somewhere. He may not get the money he wants, but
Right.
he'll end up somewhere. Somebody will sign Ryan Fitzpatrick.
What was his price tag? Was it $18 million that he wanted?
He's not going to make that.
Right,
At this
but-
point, that ship has sailed. I don't know what they'll settle on, but we had Eric Decker on the show a couple weeks ago.
Loves
and-
him.
Oh, loves him. Jake Plummer loves him. We asked Jake Plummer. We said, Jake, of the quarterbacks that are out there, free agents.
That's
and
a
guys
beard
that are tied
thing.
up-
That's a beard thing, bro.
He said Fitzpatrick too.
I
Said the same thing.
I just don't see it. And I don't know if you saw the same article I did. There was an article. All right, Fitzpatrick was 31-15. There was an article that he should have had at least 10 more. Now, should-haves, would-haves, and could-haves.
He
How many
took
more
chances, but
interceptions
you know
did
what, though?
Peyton have?
But you got to understand the team he was on. I think he had to take chances. I
So
think
you
he
like
was,
Fitzpatrick?
Well, I'm not. You asked me which quarterback do I prefer?
Kaepernick.
It's Kaepernick.
Me too.
But Fitzpatrick could be second on my list only because he's a stable veteran. He'll take chances, but I think in this offense he won't have to take as many on this team.
What would
on this
you
team.
give up? Okay, so we're getting to the thick of it now because we're now at pick 13. So you're 23, 30. So you're 18 picks away. What would you give up for Kaepernick? What a third rounder?
Fourth?
Fourth rounder?
Yeah. Why give up any more? We have a question here on Facebook. I heard the Pats can move in above 29. Is this true? I think the Pats can move wherever they like.
Yeah, they've stockpiled draft choices. They've always traded backwards. To be able to trade up would be something new for the New England Patriots.
Well, it's forced upon you when they take away your draft picks. When they take your first rounder, slap you on the wrist, and say you don't have it anymore.
Right.
It's might be something they have.
it was
to do.
it was only $1 million. And how do you like Brady? Renegotiates his deal,
Smart,
knowing
dude.
that he was
He's
going to
smart.
be
He's
suspended
smart,
for these
isn't he?
4 games.
Well, it's not him; it's his agent.
Right.
Whoever is his representatives, whoever's helping him out.
I think, is it Condon? No, I don't think it's Condon. Who is it?
I can't remember who his agent is.
But how brilliant is that?
Well, it had to happen.
Not that his supermodel wife doesn't make 10 times the money he does.
It's not a money thing with Brady. It's
pride.
Although you're trying to save everything you can. One thing that we haven't talked about, the Broncos have 10 picks. They have 10 picks, which leads me to believe they're not going to use all 10 picks. There's no way. They're going to trade some of that. What happened?
I'm laughing because this is I don't know. SNW Dad Burns says I said this thing kept falling. He says as long as it doesn't stay up for 4 hours. I know what commercial that's from.
Adalio applied some Viagra. What's up, Nate?
Tape. I got tape.
Nate, you ready to do some broadcasting?
You wanna do some-
chill out for a while?
Did you eat already? Did you get the free food?
Bring Les over here. Grab Les. It's Les's turn. Yeah, Les, come on over. Give that to Les.
We'll wait till Les gets here. I'll leave it on to Les. I'm going to go check out. Do you want an Arnie Palmer or something, man?
No, it's all right. I got coffee right here.
You know, I brought my own Arnie Palmer.
G-Man just showed me his new screensaver. We
I'm going to
punked
tag
G-Man
out, put
today.
Les on.
This is G-Man's new screensaver. Hey, Les, have a seat, bud. Right there. Just go right in. Don't worry about it.
Got my snaps.
All right, good. Go have your salmon.
boys.
This is G-Man's new screensaver, by the way. That's going to make the rounds all over the place. You seen this? This is that Laramie
Yeah,
Tunsil. the ticker that's
I
making the
did. How
rounds?
do you know that's him? It looks like Ant-Man.
I know. It could be anybody.
And you got a moist towelette I can use to wipe off the ears here?
They're pretty greasy.
Todd's known to be carrying many diseases. I should probably not be chewing gum here, huh?
So, true story with the Les. Let me give you some background. I was an intern at Channel 4 way back in the 40s. Was it the 40s or 50s?
50s, I believe.
Yeah. And I worked with Les.
Because you drove up in an Edsel, I remember.
Yeah. I worked with Les way back in the day, back when it was Les, Ron Zappolo, Mark McIntosh, Peter Rogat. Talk about a blast from the past. Marcia Neville was
The
still
late
there.
Peter Rogat.
Do you remember how large that sports staff
Oh,
was?
yeah. Plus we had like 17 producers, editors, and photographers.
Do you remember the old days?
Yeah. Remember them. Yeah.
When money was spent?
Yeah.
When
and,
you were
and-
actually...
and money was made.
Yes, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, that's because all this didn't exist.
Yeah, that's
NFL
true.
Network,
True.
ESPN. But back in the day, not only did you guys attend every Broncos road game, right?
Yes.
You actually broadcast CU games. You called the fifth down game.
For
That was
6
yours.
years I called
Yes.
the CU games.
So that's the kind of production you guys did at a local level that's just not done anymore.
Well, I would do my Monday through Friday sportscasts. What are we doing, Adelio?
He's going to fix that.
All right. I would do my Monday through Friday sportscasts. Saturday, I would travel to wherever CU was to call the CU game on TV with Dave Logan. Then we would run to the closest airport, and when you're in Stillwater, it's hard to find a close airport. You would get on the plane, fly to wherever the Broncos were, do a whole day of work on Sunday, all the way up through Sunday night, and then start it all over again on Monday, plus the coaches show on Monday nights.
But, it's what you do. It's fun. It's not even
Oh,
work,
yeah.
right? Here's the
Yeah.
next pick. Let's see what the Dolphins take. Oh, there he is.
They got
There he
Tunsil.
is. Laramie Tunsil drops to 13. Remember, this is a guy who most mock drafts, most scouts, just a month ago, 2 weeks ago, they had him number one
Yeah.
before the quarterbacks made their move. This
Best
guy was
tackle in the
supposed to go
draft.
number one. That's amazing. How much money does that cost him? I don't know how the
Oh
math
boy!
works, but you
well,
figure,
these days not quite as much,
Yeah.
because there are set prices,
Yeah.
there are set salaries, there are set signing bonuses for all the draft picks now.
it's
So,
more embarrassing than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Les, how many NFL drafts have you covered? Just off the top
I've
of your
been here
head.
31 years,
Yeah,
so at
you
least
covered every
31. I can't remember before that.
Do you remember when Elway was not drafted by the Broncos, mind you? He was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts.
I got here the year after.
Oh,
that.
so you missed that.
I got here in '84. He was drafted in '83.
So when you go back on history, you talk to Jim Sacamano, guys like that. It was a hastily called news conference
Yeah.
late at night after a Nuggets game. You go back and find. I would have loved to have been around back then. You talk about changing the dynamics of a franchise. That night changed this franchise forever. I mean, think about it. As a player, as a GM.
Absolutely. As a region, really. I mean, that's when, look, the Broncos went to the Super Bowl in '77.
Yeah.
And that changed things some. But when Elway came in and they started going to Super Bowls every other year, and social media came into play, more newspapers, more radio outlets, XM Sirius, the whole deal, things exploded. That changed everything.
Yeah. If John Elway were around today, let's say he was coming into this draft.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know this. He played his entire career without an ACL. He lost his ACL
In high school.
In high school.
Yeah.
The way these doctors and scouts pin and prick and all this stuff that he may not have been the number 1 overall pick. People may have said, you know what, we're not going to take a chance on a guy without an ACL.
No, that's true. I can remember when we thought his career was over after an exhibition game in Mexico City
I do
when he
remember
tore
that.
his biceps tendon.
Yeah.
They didn't do surgery on him then either.
That's
They just
amazing.
kind of let it lay in there, and it's still to this day it lays in there, and he's got a weird looking bicep. Things are so different in so many ways. Back then, the scope was first coming into being.
Yeah. Well, did you have this many people at drafts?
No.
I mean,
Kidding
this
me?
many cameras at drafts?
No, do you know they had a facility out at 58th and I-25. The
I
press,
wish it was still there. It was closer to my house.
the media sat in a trailer
Yeah.
because there wasn't enough room in the building to house the media, and they had one practice field in the back, and they had picnic benches, so all the players and the coaches and the front office staff would come out and back to the picnic tables and eat lunch.
Any part
With us.
Any part of you feel sorry for this kid for what happened on the last day?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he might have been.
Sabotaged.
Well, yeah. Somebody put
I mean,
something
he
up
did
on
it, but
we don't even know. We don't even know it's him.
That's
we
true.
don't know if he's wearing
That's
a
true.
mask.
That's true.
And Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reported it might have been a picture from 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, somebody did him wrong.
Somebody on the stream wants to know, who do you see having the best season for the Broncos this year? I mean, that's a very broad, general question. But if you're asking for offense, I mean, I think automatically the run game is going to be better, less because the offensive line is better.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
guess
let's hope
C.J.
C.J.
Henderson's
Anderson's
gonna-
in better shape, too.
Exactly. Yeah, better shape, and he's got a, people wonder, why did he come out of games so often? Conditioning was one thing, and
Yeah.
because Eric Studesville is in charge of the rotation of running backs. That's not Gary Kubiak. During the game, it's Eric Studesville. He sees a back, he goes with that back, that's on him. And then he probably felt that he wasn't in condition to finish games.
Well,
his
here's
ankle
the-
was bad,
And
too.
here's the other thing. Gary Kubiak told us that they were going to use a tight end or a fullback more last year. They ended up getting rid of all the fullbacks that they brought in. They are now saying they're going to bring in yet another fullback or two. That should help the running game. I think having healthy tight ends and the Hireman kid is supposed to be able to block a little bit. That'll help the running game as well.
Yeah.
So the running game should be better. You never know until you get in the camp.
Well, I know this. CJ's been working his butt off. He's been doing a lot of training, almost excess training. Let's hope it works out for him this season. Other questions on the page. What do you think about Fitzpatrick saying, "I'd rather not play football than accept the Jets' offer"?
Well, he didn't say that. He said, "I won't sign with the Jets for that money."
Yeah.
He didn't say he wouldn't sign with the Broncos for that money or the Cleveland Browns for that money.
Do you think he would spite the Jets by signing for the same money?
I don't think it's spiting the Jets. I think he did put up pretty good numbers for the Jets last
Yeah.
year, and he did lead them to a 10-6 record. So to go back there and take half the money that other guys who didn't put up his numbers are getting, 16 to 18 million a year. He threw 31 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
A Jets record, by the way, more than Joe Namath ever threw.
That's amazing. When you think about it.
Or anybody else who was in that. Ken O'Brien, any other quarterbacks who were in that uniform. But he believes he should be paid for at least as much as the top 15 or 18 quarterbacks in this league, which is around 16, 18 million. He had a pretty good year. If the Jets don't want to pay him that, he might just say, "Go screw yourselves." But that doesn't mean he wouldn't play for that same amount of money, 7, 8 million, or 9 to 10 million, for a team like the Broncos where he could finally win. He's never been to a playoff game.
People don't understand, and I guess I don't understand, because I keep thinking, oh, you got to have this elite quarterback. This team won without an elite quarterback, essentially. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but you can get away with it when you have the kind of defense they have.
Well, but you also know that there's no team in NFL history who has won back-to-back Super Bowls with a great defense and lacking a quarterback.
I wonder why
it just
that
doesn't happen.
Is it because that team loses most of its defense, or is it because it just was an aberration?
They usually get raided by other teams. Other teams want your defensive players in those situations and your offensive players. It's hard to keep everybody healthy from one year to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And I think teams also get complacent on defense. When you have a great quarterback, those are the teams that contend year in, year out. The teams with the great quarterbacks can stay
Exactly.
in
Stay-
Super Bowl
staying
contention
power.
10,
Yeah.
12, 15
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
You have a great defense, you have to keep replacing those players year after year after year. The quarterback alone, he can carry a team.
But how many of those are there? That's the thing. We like to lump guys into that.
we're
Andy
spoiled.
Dalton, and Andy Dalton's
Right?
not one of those guys.
No.
How many really are there? 4? 5?
Yeah.
You know, they just aren't there. Did you happen to see the Peyton Manning commercial today, the Gatorade commercial?
I saw the Chris Mortensen commercial.
Okay, yeah. I bring that up for this reason. There are a lot of things above and beyond football and your ability to play football that make you a good football player, per se, that make you a leader, that make you a special player.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff rubs off on teammates. Not saying that he wrote letters to all his teammates, but you can tell that aura that Peyton Manning brings, it's a big reason they won.
Absolutely. Well, we saw that in the San Diego game, didn't we?
Yes.
The last regular season game. I'll give you a little story. So every year, and you know this because I invite you every year, there's a local jewelry store that does a celebrity golf tournament. And I invite media people like you, and I invite a lot of athletes around town.
You can tell them.
We've had
Hyde Park
Jewelers. Yeah. We've had Mike Shanahan come, and
Sure.
John Elway has come and played in it, Matt Russell, et cetera, et cetera. 2 years ago, I invited Peyton to play in the tournament. And he sent me a very nice card, a handwritten card, saying, "Hey, Les, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm sorry I have something else that weekend, but please keep me in mind in the future. Sincerely, Peyton Manning."
That's amazing.
Vic,
Did you keep that
I've
card?
been doing this for 17 years with this Hyde Park Jewelers tournament. 17 years. I've never had anybody, including you, write me a handwritten note saying,
amazing.
"I'm sorry I can't make it."
That's
it's
next
the
level.
only time it's ever happened in 17 years.
I've only had it happen to me once. Last year, I had Mike Bobo, CSU head coach, on my Monday show. Sent me a handwritten note 2-3 days later saying, "Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time." I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. Here's some, let's see. Ooh, look at this.
What's going on?
Cleveland and Dallas have inquired about trading back into the first round for Paxton Lynch.
Well, Cleveland is at 15,
Wow.
so maybe they think it's still a little too
That's
early to
according
take
to
Paxton
Shefty.
Lynch.
You know, I bring up Shefty because Schefter worked with you for all those years.
Well,
all these guys that have come through.
I don't want to
looked
sound
at
like a
Stink.
jerk. I taught Adam how to do TV.
Well, you did because I remember.
I took him into the Channel 4 studios. He said, "This is what I want to do going forward." I said, "Okay." On Sunday night,
Has he sent you a card, by the way?
no, are you kidding me? He's never said thank you for that. But I brought him into the studio at Channel 4 a couple of times. I sat him down in front of the camera, and I taught him how to write for television, and I taught him how to perform for television. We worked on that for almost a whole football season.
And now he's making about $2-3 million a year.
Which is about $2 or $3 million more than I am.
It's amazing how many have come through, and I'm not saying this because of CBS 4. How many guys that are national have come through the CBS 4 studios?
Yeah.
Adam is one. Terrell Davis. We used to do a show with him. Remember the
I put Terrell on.
Yeah.
I put Tom Jackson on.
Mark Schlereth was
Mark
on with
Schlereth,
us.
yeah.
I mean, these are all guys that are nationally known now
Yeah.
that came through that studio.
Yep.
What does that say about us?
I put Chris Fowler on the air.
We
I
suck.
fought to get Chris Fowler
Did you
on
really?
the air at Channel 4.
Back when he was an intern?
He was
'Cause
my weekend editor.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Because he went to CU. Obviously, people
Yeah.
forget about that.
Yeah.
And so he goes from that to ESPN, Scholastic Sports America.
Correct. With Melissa Stark.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so we're going to be doing this all night. If you have any questions about the draft, clearly you might be paying closer attention than we are. Feel free to type in right here on YouTube. You can do it on the right side. The chat room is over there. I'm hanging out with Les right now.
What have I missed? Give me the last couple picks. Do we have that?
Let's see. Well, we got Laramie Tunsil went
Hold on.
obviously to
My trusty iPad here.
yeah, please do. A lot of these guys, I'll be honest with you, we've talked about it. I haven't even heard of half of these guys until this week. You ever heard of Sheldon Rankins? I just never
No,
have.
I haven't.
You know, Eli Apple's
I
the guy
thought
that
when
can't
somebody
cook.
mentioned Sheldon Rankins, I thought he was my accountant.
Yeah, well, Eli
So are the Raiders on the clock right now?
the Raiders are on the clock.
Did they make or they make a pick?
I think no, they're on the clock. And what? By the way, what do you think about the idea of the Las Vegas Raiders? I think that's
Love
brilliant.
it. Just love it.
I'm so-
Why would he stay in Oakland? He's been trying forever to get a stadium. They don't come close to filling the place. He can make a lot of money in Vegas. Vegas is dying to have a professional sports franchise
These
there.
guys, when I say these guys, the NFL, they better not play that morality card and say that
Well,
you can't play football in that's a joke.
You know why they can't, Vic? First of all, are you aware that Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft have investments in DraftKings?
Of course, yes.
28 of the 32
Yes,
NFL
of course.
teams have a sponsorship
Yes.
deal with a fantasy sports site.
Which borders on whether or not it's fantasy sports or gambling.
There is an NFL team that holds training camp at a casino resort.
Yes.
All right? And none of it makes sense. You know, they are complicit in their silence when it comes to gambling.
you can get in more trouble walking down a street in Arvada with gambling than you can in Las Vegas. You can get a bookie.
They play games in London.
Exactly.
You can bet on the games in London.
Exactly. It makes no more sense. If there's a reason why they don't let the Raiders move to Las Vegas, it's simply political. It has nothing to do with
I think they'll allow it.
Well, they have to. After they forced them out of L.A. and that deal,
Yeah.
you know how that turned out? And both Mark Davis and Spanos they're sitting there going, oh, my God, what are we going to do now? They got to allow it.
Give me one reason why, over the last 15, 20 years, Oakland even deserves to have a team anymore. Come on, they've got tarps up on the second
You've
deck
been
because
there.
they can't sell the tickets.
It's a joke. And I want to see Oakland win again, don't you? I want to see.
I think it makes for a better league.
I think
Yeah.
it makes for a better rivalry with the Broncos.
Absolutely.
All right.
Did I underdress for this?
Nah, you're fine.
Totally forgot we were doing
People
this.
forgot that when you
Just
were
wore
on,
a
when you were on
pullover
Channel 4,
fleece
they
thing.
didn't know what you were wearing under the coat and tie.
Well, we can tell them now.
Yeah, it was never
I
a
was
pretty
wearing
sight.
nothing from the waist down.
Don't scare the hell out of me
And
like
Vic
that.
liked it.
Where did you go right after CBS 4? Did you do a couple
Home
spins?
to cry.
I'll never
It's the
forget
first
that
time
day.
I've ever gotten fired in my life.
We all get fired.
Yeah.
We've all gotten fired. But I'll never forget that day. That was shocking to my system too. It was shocking to everybody. But you did some radio stints in town.
I did work for Fox 31 for a year.
Yeah.
I did work for Altitude for a year.
Yeah.
I did work for Quest, and I actually covered the Seattle Seahawks for a year. I would fly up to
You did?
Seattle. Yeah, and I would deal with Matt Hasselbeck almost every week.
No way.
And Mike Holmgren. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. What else? I did a year. For a while, I was working with the actor Tom Skerritt, and we were representing a beer. Because he owned a brewery up in Crested Butte, so I did that. Yeah, we traveled the state.
Here's the Brown selection.
The Cleveland Browns
Oh, they traded with Oakland.
select Corey Coleman, wide receiver, Baylor.
Okay, they got that Baylor receiver that's fast as all can be. That's right. They traded with the Raiders. Forgot about that,
So
didn't
the
they?
Cleveland Browns now have a quarterback that Robert Griffin will never be able to get the ball to.
You think Robert Griffin's going to start there?
I think Robert Griffin's career is dead.
Because I know who you talk to. I know who you talk to there.
Do I think he's going to be the starter there? I'll tell you after this weekend. Because if they don't pick up another quarterback, yeah, he's going to be the starter.
Can
Well,
you-
no, I shouldn't say that. Josh McCown had a pretty good year for them last year before he got hurt.
He's still not signed, though, isn't he?
No, he's got 2 years left on his
Oh, he
deal
does? Okay,
at a
so-
very affordable rate, like
Okay.
$4 million and $5 million.
Tell everybody why RG3 didn't work out in Washington.
A couple reasons. Number one, he had great success his rookie year with Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. And then Dan Snyder, he got hurt. And then Dan Snyder and his family, his entourage, was telling him, oh, you can't be running with the ball anymore. You can't get hurt anymore. You're a drop back passer.
So
You're a
who-
pocket passer. And he wasn't.
Who in this
he wasn't
entourage?
capable.
Who?
Daniel Snyder was the worst of the bunch. Daniel Snyder got in between RG3 and the head coach. I can tell you a story. Kirk Cousins came in and led them to a victory. Had a great game, led them to a victory. Sitting in his locker, RG3 is in the locker next to him because they sit the quarterbacks together. Daniel Snyder came down, didn't even congratulate Kirk Cousins, went right to RG3 and sat with him for a half hour and talked. Daniel Snyder made things. Look, there's a reason they're so dysfunctional. There's a reason they keep going through head coaches and general managers and quarterbacks year after year after year. There's a reason they don't win. It's the owner.
The owner pretty much has final say there. Because he's the
Yeah.
sole owner. There's no. I mean, he's the
It's the
money
golden
guy
rule.
for everything.
He who has the gold rules.
In the NFL, though, it seems like you can do no wrong. If you have a bad owner, and no matter what franchise, you still make money.
Oh, yeah.
The worst teams in the league still make money.
The
so you can
values
do what the hell
of the
you
franchise
want.
do nothing but appreciate.
You can do what the hell you want.
Roger Goodell does nothing but make everybody money.
So you tell me. I mean, if you're an owner and you make all the, what do you have to lose?
Well, you can say the same thing about baseball here in Denver. The Rockies lose year after year, but Dick Montfort puts money in his pocket because of BAM, Baseball Advanced Media, and because of the national TV contracts.
Wait, what's BAM?
Baseball Advanced Media is the MLB Network, the MLB.com. Each team this year alone is going to put close to $15 million in its pocket from revenue from BAM.
Each team.
Yes.
That's funny money. And then the amount of revenue he gets just generated from the field itself.
Correct.
You know, people that show up to games.
$2.5 million a year.
That told me everything. When I watched the Rockies and Reds, that series, and I looked out in that Cincinnati, and there was like 12,000 people at a Cincinnati Reds game. It was supposed to be a baseball town. I'm sitting there going, my God, at Coors Field, the product is far less it's nothing close to the Reds what they've
Right,
been,
not
and
year
yet
after year.
there's 30,000 people each game.
Yep. It's the biggest. It's the world's biggest bar, is what it is.
Wrigley
Used to be. They know their baseball.
now,
Yeah.
but for years,
Party venue. It's a place to be.
not as traditional, not as historic, obviously. So, all right, so let's toss it on over to somebody else. Let somebody else handle it for a while, and we'll chill. Huh? You want to do it? No. Okay. Hey, Nate, come on over. You and Sean take over for a while. I'm tired. Me and Les have talked enough. Unless you have something to say, Les.
I'm done.
We'll come back.
I'm exhausted.
It's the most work Les has done in years.
See you later,
All
everybody.
right, we're going to hand it over to Nate Lundy. By the way, Nate, go ahead. By the way, I think these headphones at one point belonged to you and your former radio station, but they're broken. So let's see.
If they're broken, they absolutely belong to it.
No, it's okay. Go ahead and put those on.
So who's on the
lines are
screensaver here on your computer?
That's my that's my mom and my sister-in-law. We lost our picture. Put our
That's
picture
fantastic.
back on,
No, I
guys.
like this. I want it. Let's more family photos. Come on, let's do this.
Oh my God! Another.
Why can't we do this?
Another Ohio State player that is now. Detroit takes Taylor Decker.
Decker, good pick. Don't ask me to break all these guys down, okay?
Congratulations.
I'm not even gonna fake it.
What's your new gig? That you got going
Starting
on?
Monday, live with nationally on Yahoo Sports Radio, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. If you're bored,
With whom?
with I can't announce that yet.
Oh, okay. But
But
it's
we're-
going to be another person.
Yeah, it will eventually be. What are you doing? What are you pointing at me for?
There's a
Oh, there's
chat room.
chat
they can
question.
ask.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
somebody
good,
said
good,
Nate.
good.
Trade
hello
on
there.
Paxton. Don't believe that anything is ever. Blah blah. Colin, do you have the trade details for Paxton? Who's Colin? Is there a Colin here?
Colin.
I don't know.
Do we know anybody named Colin?
I'm not sure if we do.
I mean,
So-
I know Colin Coward, but that doesn't really count.
Is your show going to be football only or everything?
No, a little bit of everything. A little bit of everything.
And where do you originate it?
From with our friends over at Mile High Sports.
Oh, nice.
They're going to let me use the studio over there to get this thing up and running. Going to be fun.
Will you be in the studio and somebody else will be in another studio, or are you guys going to be in the same
Eventually, we should be able to bring it all together. I've been
Because-
told I can't comment on that
studio?
part of it yet.
'Cause For
but
years, I did the show with Nate from my basement.
yes.
And no one knew any different. I was in the basement, and usually it was Mike and Nate at the radio station, and we made it work, so it's not that big a deal. All right, so whose draft room are we looking at right now? The Broncos clearly aren't making
That's
any noise.
the Falcons, who are on the clock now.
All right, this is a commercial break. This gives me time to bring Sean back in. Sean,
Yeah, bring Sean in.
the one thing that's tough about this is I can't figure out who's getting drafted and where. So why don't you update the list for
You
those?
weren't going to pay attention to it anyway. I don't
I know, but I
understand
don't
what
know
you're talking
who's-
about.
You got arrows.
I know you
You've got-
well enough.
Look how nice this penmanship is. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, that is the nicest penmanship I've seen out of a media member in years. I mean, that is readable. You can read
He's,
that.
you know,
It turns out being able to read it's really handy when we're recapping things. So thank you. Thanks,
oh
Vic.
no! See, I'd much rather have you have the messy handwriting and not be able to find it.
Giant scribbles.
Yeah, why not?
No. I'm prepared. I'm
Come on,
prepared.
you get it. Look at this. I mean, if you're going to be that clean shaven, you're going to have good penmanship. It's that
right,
simple.
Right, exactly. Well, we are now past the halfway mark in the first round because,
Okay.
of course, there are only 31 picks in the first round because the Patriots cheated.
Because
and
the
they
Patriots
don't
cheated.
have one. So,
Yeah.
woohoo for them.
Yeah.
But
bummer for them, but hooray for everybody else. So I was over at the Denver draft party.
right, Celebrity
Prior
Lanes.
to this, at Celebrity Lanes, Derek Wolf's foundation, the Active Force Foundation. My thanks to Judy Ann and Keith and Derek, and because they asked me to come down and kind of MC it and thank the sponsors and do all that, so I appreciate that. Lots of teammates over there, by the way, including your potential starting quarterback, one Mark Sanchez, was there. Was absolutely great. I have to be honest. I can tell a little bit of a story. I prior to coming to Denver, spent time working for EA Sports, as
Right.
Sean knows, because that's how Sean and I first met.
Right.
And I was in New York for EA would do their big pre-draft party and all that, and they would have all the rookies there.
Right, yes.
Okay, you remember those events?
Yep.
You've covered them. You've been
I
at
have
them
been
before.
to those as well. You're right.
So the last one of those that I did for EA was when Sanchez got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the last one, maybe the second to last one. And he was, I'll be honest, he was kind of exactly what you would expect a quarterback coming out of Southern California to be. He was kind of the my bleep don't stink, that kind of, I mean, he kind of had a little bit of that attitude to him. I am going to give the man credit, which is hard for me to do. I'm going to give the man credit because he was great at this event tonight over at Celebrity Lanes. There were tons of kids that wanted autographs. There were people that wanted pictures. There were, people everywhere, including sponsors to this event that were donating money. And he was fantastic. So I got to give Sanchez some credit. It maybe having to deal with the New York media did that
it's
to him.
a little easier. Well, I think, Nate, it's even more than that. From the day he came in and stood right behind us at this podium when he was being introduced, Mark Sanchez has been trying to ingratiate himself within the media, the community, because this is a job he wants. At a certain point, this is really Mark Sanchez's last chance to be a regular starter in the NFL, and what a particular opportunity to land it right here in Denver, where you're talking about quarterbacks. This earlier in our programming here, Vic had talked about trying to go through the draft and going through every individual pick, 1 through 32, and see what was the best pick at each one. When I went and researched all that, there were 2 that came up under consideration for the best number 1 pick overall. My selection was John Elway. The honorable mention would have been Peyton Manning. Those are the 2 people that have worn this uniform. If you're Mark Sanchez, I think he understands the value of the opportunity that's been placed before him. And as we know, it's not always accomplished on the field. Sometimes when you're the quarterback especially, you are the guy who's going to be the face of the franchise moving forward. You're the guy that's got to make the team look good. I think Mark Sanchez, I'm with you, has done a very diligent job of that since the day he walked into town.
I'll also throw something else out there. I think he also isn't dumb, Sean, in that he knows when he had his success, it was when he had a phenomenal defense as part of the 53.
Too much, right?
And he knows there's a very good defense here. So I think he probably can see some similarities between where he's been and where he has the potential now. So I think he sees some of those things. Hold on. Who did we get? Atlanta just picked Keanu, didn't they?
Yes, Keanu
Neal. The safety, right?
Safety
Is
out
he a
of Florida,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So anyway, was at the Denver draft party. Wanted to bring that up because I had a sour taste in my mouth as it pertained to a guy like Mark Sanchez because I dealt with him several years ago. And I was kind of like, I don't want a guy like that. I don't want this guy that, is it going to wind up being Leinart in the hot tub? Who's this guy going to be? I was very impressed. And I appreciated that. And so giving major props to Mark Sanchez for the fact that I think he's grown up.
Now that we've said all those nice things about Mark Sanchez as a person, now I'm going to say that the sour part that's in my taste is the fact that I don't think Mark Sanchez as an NFL quarterback is particularly good. To me, you're talking about a guy who is generally pedestrian, not a particularly agile quarterback, and I mean not only in the physical sense, but not a guy that adjusts over the course of a game particularly well. His history has been that of a guy that's barely been good enough to start on occasion, only until a team can find a better opportunity.
Right.
Do you think we're looking at anything different here in Denver? I can't imagine, Nate, that the plan when they signed Mark Sanchez was to have him start week 1. That certainly wasn't the ideal scenario, not the one they wanted.
No, probably not. But I think that they also understand that, first of all, a lot can happen between now and week 1. We know that. Even to any of these guys that have been drafted in the last 2 hours, anything could happen. I think, though, that at the same time, they know that it's not the end of the world if it were to happen. Does it mean that they're a shoe-in for the division? Probably not. Does it mean that you might be looking at 9-7 yeah, you could be. But I don't know right now that they have a choice. I don't know right now
they
that they're
don't. Not right now.
They don't have that position. Can they still pull off something with San Francisco? Maybe.
Well, that's the interesting thing about this, because they can. There is no question that they can. The question for the Broncos with Colin Kaepernick is, do they want to? That requires chipping in more money. Now, there's more money to be found if the Broncos were to convert Demaryius Thomas's contract. There's an option in his contract to convert some of the base salary to signing bonus. That would free up roughly $9 million on the cap, would enable them to extend beyond the $7 million they want for Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
But that $7 million they're talking about, Nate, do you get the impression that this is a hard number on principle, or something they'd like to be able to get, understanding the salary structure and the fact they have to get Von Miller taken care of?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, Sean, they're treating it like a hard number. I really do. I don't think they're looking at it as a like you and I walking into a car dealership and saying, this is the vehicle I want, but I won't pay more than this. Even though in the back of your head you're going,
you're willing to
actually,
swing it a little, right?
Okay, I want the vehicle for $32,000, but I'd be willing to go to $34,000. I don't know that that's what the Broncos are doing right now. I think they may truly be treating things as a hard number. And you know what? If that limits you, then it limits you. It keeps you from being handcuffed. At the end of the day, I say this all the time. I say it on Twitter. I know you agree. Look, at the end of the day, as a fan, it's not my money.
Right.
Whatever John and Joe Ellis and the Bolin family, and whatever they want to spend, it's their money. I don't care. Do whatever you want. It's not my money. But I think that when you look at a team that won a Super Bowl last year with the quarterback play that they had, which I believe if you combine the two of them together would have been 31st in the league. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay.
In quarterback rating, right.
Now, does that mean, ooh, yay, we can do it again? No, it doesn't.
No, it
Sometimes
does,
you
it
catch
does not.
lightning in a bottle.
And defenses especially, having the defenses all together, having those kind of games. Todd Romero and I talked about that too. You don't see the defenses, because of the nature of the sport, hold together as long. The Seattle Seahawks are a perfect example. They had all that defense. Were they competitive? Sure. Were they able to get the job done? No, they weren't. So in this case for the Broncos, there are a lot of challenges. What I wonder about, let's say that $7 million number is a hard to agree.
I think it
the
might
Broncos
be.
at least have given no indication that it's not. Knowing that you had a player that basically started 6 games, that the Broncos themselves even looked at the number and said, oh, no thanks. Go to Houston, have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that when the Broncos look at a $7 million number for their quarterback, knowing that now in the new NFL, where teams will give away their trades and even future trades of their drafts to go get Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, 2 guys who might not even be able to start this year,
Right.
is $7 million just too low to even get something serviceable?
Maybe. You may have to redefine your number.
I mean, can they afford to run that hard a line?
But here's my question. And this is actually, I think, a legitimate point about this $7 million number, okay? If you go from 7 to 9, are you going to get the deal? If you go from 7 to 10, are you going to get the deal?
If they go to 7 to 10, they would get the deal.
Okay, question. That's why I'm asking the question is, what's the breaking point that makes somebody say yes?
Right.
Because I think that there are some fans out there, some that don't know what they're talking about, frankly, but I think there are some fans out there that say things like, oh, well, just bump it up to 8. Well, no, it's not that easy.
Well, other guys have to get paid. They have to sign these guys in the draft. You have to, of course, get to Von Miller. And Von Miller, by the way, is going to have not only the franchise tag. Ignore that. The Broncos were delighted to put the franchise tag on Von Miller because
made him cheap.
The amount of money comparatively, it's very inexpensive. Obviously, he's going to obliterate the salary scale for linebackers, and they know that's coming. So that expense is going to be coming forward. And then on top of that, you have to be able to add your quarterback, whether it's Kaepernick or whomever.
Right.
That's going to be a very interesting story for the Broncos. If they don't make a deal for Kaepernick, if they don't make a deal for, say, Sam Bradford, which I think is far less likely.
Okay.
Are the Broncos basically
I do not
making
want
this
Sam
thing?
Bradford.
I don't either. We've gone over that.
You want to
Todd
know?
and I
You
went
want to
over
know
that
how
earlier.
painful this is for me to be able to say I would rather have Mark Sanchez week 1 than Sam Bradford.
I would,
and that's
I would
saying
too.
a lot.
That did not taste good coming out
from
but
a
I think
player
you're right.
from a player standpoint. Like I said, I like him after spending some time with him earlier tonight. I actually, I like him as a person.
Now,
He's a
here's
great
Todd
guy.
Romero bouncing up and down because he's the Sanchez guy.
He's like
Yeah, he's
literally
very
like
excited.
like he's on a pogo stick.
Very excited about this. He's the Sanchez guy. So
Okay, well, you can say whatever you want. Todd's realized the joy of the internet is that he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah,
Good for him.
Yeah, you can go absolutely nuts. But in Sanchez's case, it will be interesting to see how it shakes out because if the Broncos decide not to make a trade, Nate, if they decide to select Paxton Lynch, if they decide to select Connor
Okay.
Cook or Dak Prescott, whomever that is, that guy's not starting week 1. Mark Sanchez is going to be your starter.
If you wind up drafting somebody, that tells you that the intention is Sanchez.
And it's not an immediate improvement to the team. Your 2016 campaign, where you're trying to repeat as Super Bowl champions, that is basically saying that this pick does not benefit that run.
And let's remember that there are certain things you have to take care of within your own house, right?
Certainly.
Your own team. That's the Von Miller deal. That's the that was getting Derek Wolfe done a year and a half ago. That was getting Chris Harris done, et cetera. Right? You try to get those. You can take care of what's going on within your own
Harris
house.
and Wolf at discounts,
At discount,
significant discounts,
at,
compared
frankly,
to the
at
open
discount
market.
prices.
Yeah.
But the NFL doesn't operate in a vacuum. This isn't. I've made the comparison before. This isn't the PGA Tour, where your ability to have the right coach who does the right thing to your swing or the right thing to your putting or the right thing to your chipping suddenly takes you down an average of 2 strokes around, and now all of a sudden you go from being somebody that finished at 20th in tournaments to being top 10, and then occasionally something comes together and maybe you win a tournament, right? Because within the PGA, yes, you're up against the rest of the field. You're up against Fowler. You're up against all these guys. But to a certain extent, you can control a lot of it. The NFL doesn't operate in a vacuum, so you can't sit back and say, well, look at what we did last year, because what you have to stop and do is say, what did the Raiders do? What did the Chiefs do? What did San Diego do? Great pick, by the way, doing Joey Bosa. I love that pick for San Diego. Those 3 teams you have to be concerned about. You can't just – you have to pay attention to your own house, but you got to be paying a lot of attention to what's going on in the AFC West. And if they're doing things that are improving themselves that you're not at the same pace that they are, the fact that you've won the division that many times isn't going to matter.
And the nature of the NFL, of course, with the salary cap and the way it's all structured, is to make sure that everyone sort of regresses towards the mean. If you're a team that's lower, the way the draft works out, it's all to bring you up towards that middle ground. If you're a team like the Broncos or Patriots or these type of teams that are consistent contenders for the Super Bowl, the idea behind the way the NFL is structured is to bring those teams back to the middle. So the Broncos are already, to a certain extent, fighting against the tide that is designed in the way the NFL is structured. So that's a really good point that you make, that you have to consider the way the rest of the AFC West is. And basically, almost by default, the rest of the AFC West is going to improve. And the Broncos are going to regress a little bit. Players are going to be taken off their team. Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, Brock Osweiler. These are guys that are going to move on, and it's designed to work that way. So this draft is very interesting for me. They have 11 picks. I don't think they're going to use all 11. But what they're looking to find is not necessarily, like you talked about, this isn't like basketball where if you draft the right guy, all of a sudden your team's 5-6 games better.
Right.
Football, very rarely does that occur. In the last time the Broncos have had that happen was when they signed Peyton Manning. It basically got them extra wins per season. This draft for the Broncos isn't going to be about getting those kind of guys. It's about getting depth. It's about getting players that can become starters down the road. But for right now, you're not expecting these guys to step in and start.
Right.
You want them to be the person that eventually replaces Brandon Marshall, Darian Stewart, Aqib Talib. That's what you're looking to acquire. You're looking to acquire future starters, not immediate starters. The bright side for the Broncos is this can be done in this draft between the 2nd, 4th rounds. There are a lot of guys that really beauty's in the eye of the beholder here.
Sure.
If you like that player, you can pick him in the 2nd, and it's not that much of a stretch. If you don't like them, you can pick them later. That's fine. A lot like a couple years ago when Derek Wolfe was picked in the 2nd round. A lot of people thought that was a reach.
Yep.
Said that's a big reach. Why are they going after him? Well, a couple years later, now you know why they did, and that looks like a wise pick. This draft, to me, Nate, looks like that kind of draft where if you've done your homework on scouting, if you've taken the time to work with the guys, talk with the guys, get your coaches and everyone involved in your organization, and you like one of these players, it may very well not be a reach because the Broncos have the opportunity between those 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and maybe even 5th rounds to be able to select a great deal of players who may not be immediate contributors, but who make this roster.
As you look at what's been going on, you watch the various folks that want to do the guesswork as to what the Broncos could wind up doing at quarterback, by the way.
Right.
There's more chatter, at least within what I'm looking at on Twitter right now, there's more chatter about what the Broncos will do at quarterback than what they're going to be picking here in, 11 picks or whatever.
Well, that'd be because the Broncos quarterback is the most important position outside of governor in Colorado, at least the most visible.
Or at least whoever your dealer is.
Right.
So it's the web. I can say whatever I want.
You're enjoying the internet. I can see
it's
that
the
already.
internet.
Yeah.
I can say whatever I want.
There you go.
Right? I mean, I might get VicLombardi.com in
keep
trouble.
in mind,
but
we need to be careful of our generous host.
Just Vic standing off camera right now and said, just let me know when you're tired. But the chatter, though, there was a conversation about, okay, if the Bills, who just selected Shaq Lawson.
Right.
If the Bills.
Great player, by the way. I think he's going to be an excellent pro.
Out of Clemson. If the Bills had selected a quarterback, then you could have had Tyrod Taylor in play. if the Jets were to take a quarterback, and I think the Jets are on the clock right now. Am I wrong?
Yeah, they
they
are.
are on the clock. Okay. Then if the Jets were to take a quarterback, then you could say that Ryan Fitzpatrick is in play. I mean, you can see where fans, and it's a lot of fans that are on here that
Sure,
are talking about
sure.
it. There are fans that are going, ooh, well, if the team does this, then that means the Broncos could go here. They could do this. They could do this. It was also what they thought could happen with San Francisco. Had San Francisco traded back out of the 7th pick and wound up in the teens and then gone with a quarterback, you could have seen that being their way of saying, okay, fine, we're going to do the deal. We'll eat some of the salary.
And what's fascinating with the Broncos going last in this round is all those things are still in play. Could the 49ers hop back in and come up to 26-27 to go pick a Paxton Lynch? Absolutely they could.
Right.
What John Elway's done regarding the quarterback position, and I know that's why it's so exciting to fans. I know that's why it's such a big deal. The quarterback position is a huge part in the NFL. That the trades at the top of this draft prove it, how many teams are desperate to get quarterbacks.
Right.
But the Broncos actually have done this just about right. Now, we don't know how it's all going to turn out. We don't know who they're going to end up with a quarterback. But by not panicking, by taking your time and letting the process play itself out, there are a few players looking
Right.
for only a small amount of seats. And the Broncos' job, obviously, there aren't too many times. In fact, really, it's happened twice in history. The Denver Broncos are the only team in history that have had a Super Bowl winning team have its starting quarterback retire. John Elway did it. Peyton Manning did it. That's the only
Yes.
2 times in the history of the NFL where that's happened. So having the starting gig at quarterback open for the defending Super Bowl champion, it never happens. It's very unusual. And the Broncos have an opportunity here to basically leverage their on-demand position with a lot of players who may need to be looking for a spot.
You're going to try to do analysis, and he's over here doing what? Oh, they're talking about Manning. They're talking about Sanchez. They're talking about the butt fumble. Oh, jeez. Sorry.
No, well, he
was at
was the MC hosting
I was
the
at
Broncos draft party
I was at
down at Celebrity
the
Lanes.
Denver draft party. I was at Derek's draft party. Give me a break.
Look at
Vic.
this.
Really? And
So-
yes, because I'm sure Chad Brown is watching. Yes, the shorty man boots are on, Chad. Just so you know.
It is kind. I guess it's kind of a
Hey,
club.
did you
I mean, if
happen to-
bowling's a club.
Did you happen to see, by the way, our good buddy Peter Burns from the
Yes.
SEC Network?
Yes.
Did you see his tweet earlier tonight?
I
This
saw a
is
few
the
of them.
this is the first time in a decade that an SEC player did not go in the top 5.
And Peter's probably hurting about that. That's
Well, probably as an
that's
LSU
killing
boy
him
and
inside,
as
right.
the face of the SEC Network.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it probably is hurting him.
And four Ohio State Buckeyes taking the first 16 picks.
So you can see at least we're spreading it out a little bit. It's not all about the SEC.
And
It's
you know
not
what?
all Bama and Ole Miss
And that's
and
happening
LSU.
in part because of what we're doing right now. The internet has become
This?
the internet.
I'm to blame for this?
Not to blame, to credit. You can take some of the credit.
Hold on, I got to take this wristband
things
off, or
on
Vic's
the-
going to keep giving me crap. All right, here we go.
You think that's going to stop it?
No, not
Okay.
really, but
Yeah, I mean, come on. When you look at the way the internet has changed this draft, it's fascinating because now all of a sudden players look. How long ago was it that someone like Carson Wentz at North Dakota State, nobody would have even seen him? He's not going number 2 overall. The reason this happens is because there's more television than ever before,
Yeah, I was
more
gonna say,
networks being able to bring things, and more opportunity for someone who hasn't been able to go out to North Dakota State to grab a film and look at these games over the internet.
when you get to the
It's-
point
it's
though,
an
you've
equalizer.
got ESPN 1, 2, 3, 4.
The
I mean,
Ocho,
all
it's
of them.
coming,
You got
right.
you got the SEC Network, which is part of ESPN. You've got the Longhorn Network down in Texas. You've got FS1, FS2, Pac-12 Network, Big Ten Network. You keep going. Eventually, they're looking for programming, and I understand the network, the conference networks are focused on their own conference.
Of course.
But at the same time, you've got all of this programming to fill. So you know what? Is a team like North Dakota State willing to play a game at 11 o'clock in the morning if that means they get on FS1 because FS1 needs to plug
That's how
in a
it
game?
works in college basketball, right?
Right.
You'll run into that.
So sometimes that winds up happening. So you're right. A guy like Carson Wentz winds up getting discovered like that. We certainly have seen quarterbacks get discovered, and if you've been watching any of the coverage tonight, you know that. They've talked about Phil Simms. They've talked about those guys before, but Steve McNair.
But you need to break records to do that. A guy like McNair had to obliterate
Right,
a record
which
to
he
even
did.
get the consideration. Right.
But, to see some of the quarterbacks that have come out, some of these players that are coming from smaller schools, some of what you're talking about is exactly right. The fact that these guys can wind up with an agent who creates their own sizzle reel for them.
Right.
I mean, they're hiring videographers to edit all this stuff together to pimp them on the internet. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
Smart to do so.
It starts when they're trying to get recruited out of high school, and it just continues on up the ladder until they're trying to make it into the NFL. And if you figure that you've got an NFL career that's going to last 3, 4, 5 years for some of them, if they're lucky, then why not
you have
do
to
it?
maximize, strike while the iron's hot, and you are seeing a bit of a change there. Now there is as much of a sales pitch for outgoing college players that are entering the draft as there is really looking for scouting film. I mean, they'll put them in front of the guys themselves. It's a very well packaged, marketed thing. Jared Goff did it masterfully. Jared Goff, from day one, really sold himself as basically a one-stop shopping. You need to reinvent your team. You need a new face of the franchise. I'm your guy. And it worked very, very well. Certainly it helped that he's also from Cal.
Right.
Looked like at least the quarterback, maybe not the longest-term guy, but the one that's most ready to step in on an LA Rams team that desperately needs one. Speaking of a team, by the way, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, football season's a ways off. The LA Rams, to me, look like
I got to write that down. L.A. Rams.
poor
I got to
man's
work on that.
small version copy of the Broncos. And here's why. It's a team that's defense first, strong.
Okay.
They fly all over the place. There's a pretty good running back. They have a lot of talent. And then you add serviceable quarterbacking. If Jared Goff can provide that, that's a team that can make a leap in their division and maybe become very interesting very quickly.
They got to protect him. They need some help on the offensive line. I mean, they clearly can run the ball because Gurley last year averaged 4.8 a carry.
Yeah, phenomenal.
So they can get that part of it done. By the way, Sean, would you draft somebody that you know needs shoulder surgery that's going to sideline them from 4 to 6 months at some point, probably after next season?
I guess it depends on how comfortable you feel with the player. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it. In the Broncos case, I think you have the luxury. You're not trying to pick a starter in the first round.
That's what the Bills just did with Shaq Lawson. Adam Schefter just tweeted that.
And I don't have any problem with that. I think you get the right guy. I think you go ahead and make that pick. Look, if someone like Miles
If
Jack,
somebody only has a 4 or 5 year career in the NFL, I'm sorry, if I'm drafting, what do I care? I may only have them for 4 to 5 years. After 4 to 5 years, they're somebody else's problem.
right? You never know.
Go for
I
it.
think
I'll
you
take
go ahead
it.
and get the player you want. I think someone like Miles Jack, as he continues to plummet, I don't think he gets all the way to the Broncos, obviously. But I think if you do, I don't think you hesitate for a split second. I think you go ahead and you get that guy because you know, one, for the Broncos case, you don't need a starter. It'd be great, but you don't need it. And if you think you have a guy that's going to be a force that you're going to have, okay, you lose 1 year. But if you get him in the first round, you get 5. And as Todd Romero pointed out earlier last time he and I were on, you can really make it 7 if you want to franchise it, tag them even twice if you can't get things to work out. So if you have to take a guy like Miles Jack or a guy like Shaq Lawson, you think they're your guy, you're going to be able to have them for multiple years. And if you lose one, then you lose one. But if you feel it's the right person, look, the Houston Texans did it with Jadeveon Clowney not that long ago. Made him the top pick in the draft, knowing there was a chance he might not even play that season. Turns out he didn't. Still working himself back. But if you ask the Texans, they don't really regret the pick because they think that down the road, you're talking about a guy that bookends with J.J. Watt and gives them the best pass rush in the league.
So we just had the Jets, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see your list here.
Yeah,
'cause
well,
I don't have it in front of me.
obviously, since we dropped off, a little behind.
Yeah, Ohio State just had
Another one.
Lee go.
So their average of
linebacker, right?
one Buckeye every 4 picks on average is still continuing.
You know,
Yeah.
that's welcome to Ohio
Well, this is
State
what happens
football.
when you win, 50 games in
So
the last
hold on.
4
So the
seasons?
Jets just happened. Look, we're doing this on the fly. People, calm down.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you can watch it behind us, but it's all, we can't
you can read the scroll. See it back there?
Yep.
And then you get the fun because it's not Gruden or Kuiper or McShay. By the way, I heard Gruden talk about players he actually didn't like. That
You
was
know
a
how you
first.
can tell that it's not draft experts because
All right, let me see
I
here.
don't have the hair.
1, 2,
you have to have the
3,
fabulous
4,
hair to be a draft expert.
5, 6. So if Miles Jack could last 6 more picks,
Yeah.
Seattle would take him.
I would
Seattle
suspect they would.
Seattle would take him because they don't need him right away.
Right.
They could sit on him for a little bit. That would work. You could see that happening.
Yeah, I think there are players like that if they're the right guy for you, I think you go ahead and you make the move. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it makes a great deal of sense. And when you're a team that's already near the top of the league, you have the luxury to make those plays. You have the opportunity to do that. Obviously, you'd like top-tier guys, but when you're picking 25 plus, that may just not be an option for you.
May not be. So the upcoming picks we've got, I know everybody's worried about the Broncos, but the upcoming picks we've got Washington, Houston, Minnesota, Cincy, and Pittsburgh. Those are your next 5.
None of those teams at the moment have had any really buzz about them trading out, or they appear to be making most of their own picks.
By the way, since you are online right now watching us, might I recommend that you go change your Twitter account password so that you don't get hacked? Apparently that's a big thing tonight, is getting your Twitter hacked. So you might want to go change your password. You know, like having your password be password.
Right, not to password.
Not a good idea.
Not 1111.
Not having, you know, like your mom's name or
Right.
something that's easy.
Your birthday. Sure,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
avoid that.
get rid of that. Like
Does
the
it
number of
cost, it
people
cost
that
Laramie Tunsil about $3 million?
probably somewhere in that range.
Yeah. That's a decent
You
amount.
know, but hey, when you get these guys that have had little bits of issues, sometimes they figure it out.
Yeah.
The Broncos have certainly taken shots on guys like that before.
That's honestly, Nate. Is my Twitter got hacked? The 21st century. The dog ate my homework. Really? I mean, that's really what it feels like. That's basically what it is, right? I mean, everyone knows you didn't get hacked.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
It's my dog ate my homework. In other words, I didn't have time to do it. I didn't bother to take it off. I didn't happen to pay attention that I had a gas
Okay.
mask bong apparatus thing that someone's going to post on the internet right before the draft and absolutely obliterate.
But my
your
favorite
draft
is that
stock.
he's in a gas mask. You don't know if it was him or not. It was a gas mask. I mean, you know.
So you're in the you're a Tunsil conspiracy.
I
guy.
have no.
Is
I
that
have
right?
no. Look, I have
I like
no
that.
idea. Don't ask me. I have no idea. I just want to know where you find a gas mask like that, and why was Tunsil hanging around with it. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying. I mean,
don't know.
anybody.
I don't even want to know where you find it regularly.
Houston
Army
has.
surplus stores? Where does
Has
that- where do you
Houston
get
just
that?
has Houston just traded up? Let me turn around for a moment. Yes, they have.
They have.
So Houston just traded up.
We know
with-
they're not picking a
so,
quarterback.
So wait a minute. So literally, Houston and Washington just flip flopped.
Okay.
That's what just happened. We just went. Houston literally just moved up one spot.
Neither of those teams, by the way, are picking a quarterback. For Broncos fans who are concerned about that,
as you-
not Washington and it's not Houston.
As you see this moving along, by the way,
Yeah.
have you felt any more particular? Let's say the Broncos just stay right where they're at 31.
Sure.
Have you started to feel any better about what position they may go for? I'm a believer, by the way, when it comes to drafts. I don't try to predict who. I try to predict position.
Right, and I think that's the smartest way to go. You look at positions of needs because look, I'm going to pull some of the cover off of the wonderful NFL veneer where everybody comes out and says
Oh,
we're
don't-
only
don't-
concerned
don't do that.
about. No, it's fine. We're
Don't,
only
don't tell
concerned
people
about,
how the sausage is made.
I
Just
love
enjoy
doing
it.
that. That's what I love doing, though.
All
That's
right,
what I
fine.
do. It's like a magician. You get to pull away the curtain. The idea that the teams, of course, say we only pick the best available player. Well, they don't.
that's a
they
crock.
pick the best available player
At a position of need. That's what Coach Brian
Right.
Billick has been saying
and
for
they'll,
years.
They'll never say that otherwise, but that's exactly how it works. So you're making the right choice. Now, Nate, we look at their immediate positions of need: quarterback, defensive end, possibly safety. Those are the three that I look at immediately and say that's where you need to go. There are going to be some safeties available. There are going to be. This is a pretty good draft for defensive line depth. Now you have to kind of decide who you like, but I think the Broncos have done their due diligence there.
Yep. If you are still a Brock Osweiler fan, the Houston Texans just drafted him another weapon in Fuller, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Vic's
Somewhere he's
Vic-
dancing in the hall.
Vic's over here.
Oh, he didn't hear you
talking
yet.
to Woody.
He'll be excited. That's
but he'll be excited.
Two or three Notre Dame players in the first round. I think is it 2 or 3 already?
Well, let's see.
It's at least 2.
Well, because
Because
Stanley
Stanley went
so that's
first,
one, and then you
right.
got at least 2. I don't know, because ever since you and I have been on the air,
Yeah, I can't keep track of my.
we
my
haven't
list.
filled in your list
Right.
because we're on the air, and I'm not good at multitasking other than following Twitter, because I'm trying to make sure that Schefter doesn't have anything breaking going on.
Yeah.
But Will Fuller, the wide receiver out of Notre Dame, is who
So
they went with. Which
this
by
has
the way,
been-
they needed to do.
They
They
need
needed to get
someone
Brock.
opposite DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. If you're going to have
he's absolutely blanketed.
If you're going to have a stud wide receiver in Hopkins, you need to give him some other weapons.
Right.
Chances are you also needed a rookie. I don't know what Fuller's 40 speed is or whatever, but Brock Osweiler, clearly we know this. He can throw it a mile.
Has this been Brock? This has been like Brock Osweiler's dream summer so far, right? I mean,
Well, he's not on Dancing with the Stars. That probably would have done it.
he's really tall and ungainly, though. I don't know how that would have worked out for him. But in the meanwhile, he
You
gets
don't think he
$17
can
million
dance?
a year.
You know what? I could see that. Could you see Brock with like the white man's overbite?
Get the whole little
kind of like arms
yeah.
in, like T-Rex, kind of like, Which, by the way, this is how I dance, so I can't really complain.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure we're the best judges of that. But,
No,
but
no,
Osweiler,
not at
of course,
all.
now $17 million a year in the offseason,
Okay.
breaks the bank, new face of the franchise alongside J.J. Watt for the Texans, now gets some help in a wide receiver that apparently the Texans thought was just about to get picked as they then traded up a little bit to get him.
So they knew who they wanted. which means Washington was willing to move down because they would have been happy with somebody else.
So they must be going somewhere where they feel there's a little bit of depth. And that's interesting, though, because you think wide receiver, that's a position that Washington could use as well.
So it could be that they are going to be the one. They could go with the Treadwell. They can go with Doxson. Hasn't been drafted yet, has he?
No, those are
I just
two-
want to make sure I didn't miss that one in the car.
Yeah, two very talented wide receivers. Again, maybe the 40 times is what trips them up, but hey, we know how well that necessarily works. 40 times aren't everything you can think of.
Right.
A lot of players, not only
When you're doing the underwear Olympics, it doesn't matter.
No, it
Sorry,
doesn't make any
matter.
difference. And when you have the size and the build and the ability to kind of box guys out,
Right.
some of these bigger wide receivers like Doxton and Treadwell have the ability to do, you have an opportunity.
We're babbling.
Well,
I don't even know what I've just said.
We figured your Golden Domer just got picked, so Vic Lombardi, time for you to step back in a little bit here.
Allie, come on in, Allie.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you real quick.
All right, we'll tap in.
Sweet.
We're gonna brighten up the picture a little bit.
You know what you're going to do? You're gonna add TV.
Yeah.
You got like there's a thing going on here. There's like there's a
stay right there.
TV thing you
Stay
have.
right there.
Well,
Let's
no,
just
she
turn
can't.
it.
Are you going to
Yeah,
turn it?
just
All right,
turn it.
hold on. Let me give her the headset.
She doesn't even need the headset. I'll
Don't
use the
step
microphone.
on the cables.
I use the microphone.
God, you're going to break things.
Say hello to Allie Sturm. She's the latest addition to Altitude Television. How long have you been on board, Allie?
I've been on board about a month after you, I think. So it was pretty much beginning of January or so.
Is this your first experience of Denver Broncos football right here?
This is my first experience, yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool. I really like it. It's fun watching everything up here on the big screen, and you're doing a great job.
See the difference between the National Football League and every other. I mean, this is crazy how the extent they go to in the National Football League to do stuff like this. You notice the difference, right?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so. No, it's great that the Broncos put all this together for us.
I was going to say, one of these paintings here is probably worth more than my car. I mean, they've got portraits up all over the place.
Well, it is certainly worth more than my car. Maybe not yours, but yeah.
All right, so you're covering the Rapids, right? Right now in the offseason. What else are you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing Rapids right now. I did a package actually on Von Miller yesterday for his Vision charity, which was really awesome. Great guy. But yeah, Rapids have been really exciting to cover. Everybody needs to watch it. They're doing really, really well right now.
Best team in Denver right now, playing right now.
Truly, they have a literally perfect record at home.
Yes. 4-0 at home, second in the Western Conference. Allie Sturm, everybody. All right, we're going to just chill out for a while here. Will Fuller just went. The Broncos really haven't done, well, who knows? Maybe they've had conversations. We haven't heard of any. I'm sure these guys entertained and educated you. What's that? Your guy? Ashawn Robinson? What do you know about Ashawn Robinson? All right, hold on. Put your headset on so people can hear you. Oh, my God. Come on over here. Sit back down, Todd.
Oh, I'm back in the chair.
Has the radio station called you?
No, they're blowing me off
Okay.
for Bronco players. Can you imagine that?
You know, I spoke to CJ.
Yeah.
CJ was on the
Well,
air.
I was listening when it came
that was
on.
funny. We exchanged some pleasantries about his little radio escapade today.
There's a few talents that Kyle Keefe has.
Yeah,
Because I'm
that's
like
one of
you,
them.
because I heard you. I'm not a voice
I
guy.
can't do that.
I can do one. Orale, man, Holmes, I'm sure, man. I can do Cheech.
That's an easy
it.
one. That's an
That's
easy
it.
one for you.
But that's past Cheech. There's not
After
a whole
Cheech,
lot
you
there.
got nothing.
No.
All right, let's see where we're at right
Kyle
now.
is pretty good at it.
He does that country, but sometimes
That-
he gets
that
stuck in
country
it, and
twang.
he does the entire show in the
No,
country twang.
but you know why you guys will never get me? Because
Well, 'cause
I'm
you know
watching.
about it
I'm
now.
watching an Avalanche
Yeah,
game.
now you know
And I
about
start
it.
getting text messages
Yeah.
from somebody that says, "Hey, I'm going to kick your butt. Your kid hit Mike." I'm like, who is? He had me so worked up that he finally had to start laughing and say, "Romo, it's me." I was.
How long did he
Oh,
have
dude,
it?
it was 10, 15 minutes, man. He had texted me. Rycroft sitting right there, no selling it.
Let's see what we got here. Hopkins needed some help in Houston.
Yeah. Wait, how about the Golden Domer? You didn't comment on the Golden Domer
You know
going
what?
to Brock?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think that's a bit of a reach. I think it's a bit of
Mayock
a
doesn't
reach.
like the pick.
I don't like the pick either. I'm not saying he's a bad receiver, but I think they could have gotten a little bit later. He's got speed. I'm not
Offense
sold on his
for
hands.
Washington?
Let's see. Let's see what Washington does here.
The Washington Redskins select Josh Doxson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another receiver.
offense.
Boy, there's a run of receivers
Well,
here,
he's
huh?
just signed your quarterback.
There's a run of receivers.
Boy, you're at 22 now. Boy, Paxton Lynch is in
He's
the
still there.
conversation now.
There's a reason.
And
There's
if-
a reason.
I
he
just
hasn't
don't want
been
Kyle to
drafted.
be right.
There's a reason he hasn't been drafted.
Yes.
There's a reason.
I
he
know.
hasn't
Well,
been
he's in the
drafted.
spread offense. It's going to take a
He
year.
is a project. He's
But-
strictly a project. And
If you
I don't
like
think
him-
but I don't think you go first round on a project. I mean, if you
Even
have a
at
project,
31.
you can get projects anywhere. I mean, if you
So, okay, so do you think Dax Prescott would be a better pick later down the
exactly, if you
Great
get a
athlete.
project in the fourth, fifth round, third, I mean, that's a project pick. I don't think you. I mean, if you're going to pick in the first round, get yourself a reserve safety who could possibly fill in and start for Darian Stewart after next season.
Right. Well, and you and I talked about that too. Is if he has any kind of season close to what he's had, and we also talked about that this Denver Bronco team, when T.J. Ward and him were not, look what happened in Pittsburgh. Look what happened in the games that he missed. Denver was a different team
They are less than 10 picks away.
from the end of the first round.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Do you remember how it used to be? How long?
time
It's
is
10
it?
minutes
It's
now,
8:40.
right? It's 10 minutes.
It's still on. It's still going to go over 3 hours.
But remember when it was 15?
yeah, it was
15 minutes to
hell
decide
before.
who you're going to pick.
We're still going to be here until 10 o'clock.
You know what? I can't. If Kyle's right in the first round, that's the only
About
thing I
what?
root against.
About
Who the Broncos
Ndiche?
pick, Kim Diche.
I can't even pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Kim Diche. Give me where's that Broncos roster? Because I want to look at some of these positions. There it is, right here. Hold on a second.
Ashawn Robinson is who I like the best. Now, the aorta guy. I call him the aorta guy now.
Here we go.
Inside linebacker, Bama.
Here we go. What did you do to ill will for him to hate you, Vic? You saw that tweet?
Yeah,
that Will
because
tweet?
all you did was comment on the first round of the NBA draft.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Or the
dude.
NBA playoffs.
And then he says I suck. And I do suck in various ways, but I don't understand what warranted that shocked me,
because
to be honest with you.
because you just were like the
I
NBA needs to
found it
shorten
boring.
the first round to
that's all.
5 games.
It wasn't hard. I never said anything about him. Miles Jacks is a beast. Yes, he is, but he's got a knee that they don't know about. Where's that one I saw that I wanted to? Oh, here, Jalen Smith. Dude, I'm telling you right now, I know he has a completely wrecked knee. I get it.
Yeah, but man,
If you can store him and redshirt him essentially for a year, and now what they do in medicine, these knees, you saw what happened to Todd Gurley.
Oh,
Todd
yeah.
Gurley wrecked his knee.
Oh, yeah.
He came back and he was the best rookie running back
Right.
in the NFL, but probably the second best running back in the NFL.
you made a point a while ago that before this day and age of everybody knowing everything, John Elway would no way have been the number one pick.
Because
and if
he
you
was
don't
missing an
know
ACL.
this, Vic and I know this, we're Denver natives. John Elway played his entire NFL career without an ACL. That happens in this day and age. Not only is that player not in the first
He
round,
drops.
he may be in the third round.
Because they're scared, because they don't want to take on that risk. You're exactly right. I mean, they're finding things about players that they've never found before.
Reggie Ragland today.
Laramie
that
Tunsil
came out.
I mean, what was Ragland's?
They say he has an enlarged aortic valve.
What? How do they find that?
They and the big time schools do this now, Vic. When
How
they
did
do
he
more
play
blood
college
tests.
football
I have
if
no
that's the
idea
case?
because they found it now. Maybe it's grown. Your guess is as good as mine. But every fall we have a couple players that pass away. Either high school or football comes out as an irregular heart.
Yeah.
Now the colleges that have money apparently have tests that can tell that, but a lot of these families know it and don't let the universities know about it.
So the setup here, the way you're seeing it, John Elway will come down and address the media as soon as that number one pick is made. And, like I said,
adjusting.
we're less than 10 away. He's going to come in here and tell everybody about the pick. And a lot of the times the Broncos do that before it's actually announced. So you'll get that opportunity to see it happen before the announcement is made in Chicago. We'll see how much earlier he does it. What's up, Adayo? Oh, Adayo, come over here and say it. I don't even know what you're saying. This is
the brains of the operation.
How about that? Just make sure you subscribe to either the YouTube or the Facebook live feed, so when we go live from events and stuff, you'll be notified.
Oh, nice.
Are you assuming we're going to go live from more events?
Well, you haven't
Actually,
checked
yeah,
with
you're
him
right.
yet. See, he loves this stuff and fixing stuff up.
Yeah, I know he loves setting it up. You should
Oh,
see what he
yeah.
did in my basement.
The way it really works is, hey, you want to go to Broncos in 10 minutes and do some coverage?
Is that what it? Oh, so that's the plan. That's the notice you get.
He's a
I
professional.
learned a lot about this family just in one night of staying at the Super Bowl with you
I got him a
guys.
free dinner here at Broncos in exchange for setting this up. It's not that hard. Just get a laptop and a bunch of cords and a jacked up headphone.
Well, but I got tape on it now, which is totally appropriate for
headset.
me.
Hey, Adayo, grab G-Man when you get a chance. I got to talk to him real quick about how G-Man,
Oh.
the guy with the glasses.
See him leaning
Oh,
forward.
I
He's
know.
got him in his nose.
I know. G-Man, come here real quick. I got
I'm gonna step out.
I got to talk to G-Man
This
about
is
the
good.
prank we got him on today.
Hey, does Paxton Lynch go to the Chiefs though?
Well, if he goes to the Chiefs, then you know full well that he's a 2 or 3 year project.
Well, the Chiefs can screw anything up. Well, especially
Cardinals.
An ACL. How about the Chiefs with their best player not diagnosing it until 3 months after the season? Thanks, Kansas City.
Let me pop G-Man. G-Man, have a seat over here. This is Rich Goins. For those of you who don't know him by his real name, sorry for all
Haven't
this
been on the
stuff.
radio in a while.
This is my engineer right here. Look at this.
Nice.
Look at, let me show
like a
people.
bowl of spaghetti.
This is what we have. This is what we're working with right here.
Oh, I like this.
This is
world class here.
Show people your shoes. Those are nice.
You like
shoes.
those? Yeah.
Those boots.
No, those are
Ooh,
shoes.
look at that.
Well, it's the NFL draft, Vic. I don't just show up, in my tennis shoes like everybody else.
I wanted to have G-Man on with us for various reasons. Number one, he's the biggest golf hustler in town. He claims he's like a 17 handicap, and he shoots 74 at Bear Creek, which is the toughest course in town. If you can shoot in the 70s at Bear Creek, you pretty much can play golf.
Vic taught me everything I knew.
Correct?
No.
What's your low of the year so far?
74.
Bastard.
Last Friday.
Did you really?
Well, I took a putting lesson.
How much money did you make off that 74?
Oh, $10.
At Bear Creek?
Something like that, yeah.
Because you guys play like 8-somes. I saw a group over there, you guys, eight guys.
Yeah, as many as you want. Bear Creek Golf Club, Morrison. Hit
How
me
many drafts have you covered in your career? What do you figure? How long you been here?
up. 30 years.
Have you?
I think I've covered every one.
Were you there for the Elway press conference, or was that before your time? When Elway was a Bronco and he was drafted by the Colts, and then they hastily called
No,
it.
that
before your time?
was just a couple of years before
Okay.
I got here, yeah.
If those that didn't see the feature by Rick Riley a couple years ago on Monday Night Football, that was the coolest thing ever.
Well, it was the 25 season anniversary of me living on the billboard.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I thought he did a really great job.
Ooh, Laquan Treadwell. Don't you have a kid named Laquan?
Yeah. That's yeah, I know him. Yeah, I actually.
You do remember how much when you sat on top of that billboard some 25 years ago.
Yeah.
The reaction in town was, this guy's nuts.
Oh, and the reaction is still, I'm nuts.
And you did that while you were working for Lewis and Florax, correct?
Yeah.
And it was just basically a campaign to say, hey, what was going on at the time?
Well, what happened was there was a lead up to it where the Broncos had lost a couple of games. They lost to the what I thought at the time was the lowly Chargers with who was their quarterback? Humphreys, I think, was their quarterback.
Stan Humphreys.
Stan Humphreys,
Yeah.
who I thought was kind of like the Rick Russell of quarterbacks. He had that pot belly and those fat legs,
Yeah.
he was solid, but they weren't anything special. They lose to the Chargers. This is the year after they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, 1990. They were just in the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, they get freakish injuries, so we had a bet with the radio station in San Diego. If the Broncos lose to the Chargers, I'll do my radio sportscast from one of our billboards. We had a new billboard campaign,
Yeah.
and it turned into I'm living up there. So for 33 days.
So Rick Riley sort of relived it with you.
Yeah, so we went back up. The billboard's gone. It's over on Colfax. It was on Colfax. It's now Girls Inc., the building for Girls Inc., which is basically the girls club.
So this guy's pretty much a radio stalwart, a radio legend in town. He's pulled every gimmick, every game known to man. Today we got him in his own game on the Vic and Kyle show. Kyle plays this role. Horace, I can't remember the last name, this country accent.
Yeah, country old guy.
And we prank people. We pranked C.J. Anderson and we pranked G-Man. I said, you got to get G-Man. I don't know, just do some charity thing. And he got you good. How long before you figured out it was fake? I mean, you were on the phone for a good 4 minutes.
It was about 3 minutes. When he said,
You were a gentleman, too. I would've hung up.
I almost told him to F off, but anyway, he kept saying, I met you at a charity event, and you promised to take me and my kid. And I'm thinking, well, maybe the kid has something going on in his life. He's a special needs kid. I promised to take the guy to the draft. Now, I've been drunk many times in my life, mostly at charity events that I host. And which is why I never get asked back to host any charity events. So I'm thinking, man, did I really promise a guy to take his kid to a charity event? And then when he said, yeah, we were smoking cigars and I met you. And as soon as I said, what event? And he couldn't come up with one. If he'd have just said any event, I would have still been eating that.
You know, the funny
That
thing
was
about
awesome.
That's not the first time it's happened to G-Man. Do you remember a few months ago when I got you with that fake phone number?
You kept calling me, and I was like, "Who in the is calling me?"
I was
I know
texting
you're
you.
texting
Hey,
me.
you want to play golf? Remember?
Yeah, and then you're like, "Yeah, let's play." I got a couple of girls I want to bring out to Bear Creek, and I'm like, "Who is this?" It was.
Lastly, the last reason I wanted to bring G-Man up is if you look at this shot. Look at the shot in the computer. When you turn around my head, you can see that I'm starting to lose hair in the back. And you're an expert on this. What do I do to replace? What do I do
Let me see.
here?
I can't really see it.
I mean,
Let me
sure
see.
you can. Look at the back.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but
Mine's
it's bad
worse.
enough. I know, but what?
Well, they took all the hair from the back
Look
of
at
my head
Adalio.
and put it on
Adalio,
top.
show him what you did to your hair. Come here, because G-Man.
No, I'm an expert. I've had hair transplants. I know this stuff.
He knows this, so he just got it done.
Did you? Oh yeah.
Yeah, look at that. So it's coming back.
So it's starting to grow, and it's
Yeah.
like the spring grass.
Yeah. Well, Romo, you look like you got some pubic hairs replaced or something there.
So did he really just have that
Yeah,
done?
he just got it done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. When's it coming in? It takes like 6 months, right? So you got to wear that hat for 6 months. See,
it's like planting a new green.
My head. See, I had mine done like 25 years ago. My head looked like a Chinese checkerboard. I went into King Supers. People thought I had. People
Thought you had AIDS or
No, they
something?
thought I got in a car accident. They were trying to take me to the airport or to the emergency room.
Oh, God.
I was in the airport, and the guy wouldn't let me through security because he thought I got hit by a hatchet.
All right, guy on online wants to know what is our biggest weakness. Well, clearly our hair. But if you're talking
Yeah.
about the Broncos' biggest
My
weakness,
breath.
What is the Broncos' biggest weakness? Well, quarterback right now.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
it's unproven.
Right.
And that's a pretty
An
important
offensive,
position.
offensive line.
Because
they've
on
been-
paper it's better, but we don't know for sure how much better it is. I would say quarterback.
And I
number
was
one.
hoping Laramie Tunsil was coming here.
Yeah,
For
well,
guy,
after
I
that
mean, that
photo.
would have been the greatest thing ever.
Been the greatest story ever.
Every guy that owns an Army surplus store ran into his store and remarked the gas mask up 30%. There won't be a gas mask left in Denver.
We joke around
for
about
this
that.
deal.
We say, these guys that are doing weed, come to Denver, you'll be welcome. But we forget it's still prohibited in the NFL.
No, I know.
I mean, but it's the irony.
That's a jaded ex-girlfriend that put that video on there.
Oh,
he said it was
God.
5 years ago.
Well, they tried to make money off it. They
Oh,
tried.
oh,
Yeah,
they
they tried
tried-
to
they were-
sell it.
really?
They
They
tried
were-
to sell it. From
they were
what we've
trying.
heard. Yeah.
They were trying to hold him up.
Some guy Colin says, thanks for chiming in, Colin. That safety depth is a need. Yeah, depth at safety is certainly always a need. But are you mean to tell me that you're perfectly content with the quarterback position right now and you're happy and ready to go? They sound like it, but if you ask me what is the biggest need, I would say quarterback.
Don't you think they're still going to pull off a trade with San Francisco?
Yes.
It
I
was
do.
crazy, Vic, but I
do.
don't know. I talked to like 3 or 4 guys last year. This is during the Super Bowl run. They said, who's going to be the quarterback next year for Denver? And I said,
Wait, is this before Brock?
this is before the
left?
whole. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I said, Colin Kaepernick. Everybody thought I was crazy.
gave you
I
that?
said that on the radio.
Why?
There were two things. One, I felt like Osweiler after he got benched.
Was pissed.
Felt like he was just jaded and left in the dust, and he was like, hey, get me out of here, even though he didn't say it and he kept up a good attitude. But the second thing was Kaepernick, to me, fits really well into this offense. He's so athletic.
I agree.
And Gary Kubiak and Elway can sit him down and say, listen, get your head straight. You've been to the NFC Championship. You've been to the Super Bowl. But I just felt like he was really PO'd about being in San Francisco, playing in that system last year and saying, hey, I want to take my talent somewhere
Plus,
else.
he'll get, he had great coaching with Harbaugh, and
Oh.
then the coaching went down.
Yeah.
He was going to get the best coaching for his skill set here. His skill set can be rehabilitated. Everybody says he doesn't have it anymore. They can find it again. Trust me.
He comes here, they're automatic favorites to win the Super Bowl. They go to like 3-1.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't go that
absolutely.
far. I wouldn't go that far.
I think I just feel that way, man. I think he's the missing piece. They can draft all these young guys, but you
So,
got to have a veteran.
You know how you and I were talking. We're playing golf on Tuesday, right? Still?
Yes, we are.
If it's snowing, we got issues.
Right. Even with the bald spots on the back of our head.
So I asked Rich. I said, "Why don't you give Helton a call?" And you know where Helton was last week, right? Because I found out from Stokely.
Yeah, I know where he was.
They
He
hit
didn't
it
even
up.
tell me.
They hit it up with they went on the Peyton Manning train, and the Peyton Manning train takes you to the most luxurious golf courses across North America.
I want to get on that train.
Man, do
I'm
I want
working my
that
way
train.
on that train.
I told Stokely, I said, the only reason you played in the NFL is to play free golf with Peyton Manning. That's it. That was your career.
That's the only reason he recruited him to come here.
All right, William Jackson, a corner, goes to Cincinnati. How far are we here now?
Pretty close.
Dude, we're at 24. Ooh, man.
Yeah, we're like 5-6 picks away.
Okay.
I wasn't a mathematician.
Do you have a most memorable draft that you ever covered, or was there ever a night here where did you ever get into a fight with another reporter?
In the bar after the draft?
You have anything you want to share?
You know
with
what?
us?
I just felt like when the Broncos drafted Von Miller, and they knew, everybody knew that guy was going to be a. I know, but that just completely changed the whole franchise. Remember what was going on here with Josh McDaniels, and I mean, it was just nothing like we're used to here in Denver. I mean, we're used to championships and covering Super Bowls and going to the playoffs, and all of a sudden you got the number 2 pick. Yeah, you can't miss when it's Von Miller.
How about the year McDaniels drafted Alfonso Smith in the 2nd round and traded a 1st rounder to move up to get him? That was amazing to me. I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah,
you trade a future 1st rounder to move up in the 2nd rounder to get a 2nd rounder. I never got that.
I never got that guy. I think he was sent here by Bill Belichick to mess up the franchise.
It worked because we got him Von Miller. Think about it.
We got Von Miller.
Exactly. That season netted Von Miller, which netted a Super Bowl. So things happen for a reason.
Somebody's going to drop here. Elway's great at this. That's what I love about Elway. He's not afraid to take a chance.
People know Elway as well as this guy. He spoke. He was the MC at Elway's Canton Hall of Fame party. I remember that.
Well, I think it was only 2 media guys there. So they were
you were there.
You're the only guy that won't choke on stage.
That was cool.
But I love what Elway did the last 2 years. I love what he did. With Roby was to me. I watched Roby because I'm a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
And I got to see. I mean, all these Ohio State guys.
Dude,
Michigan might have
how
a
many
chance
guys?
next
5
year.
or 6.
There's 5 already.
Their entire team has been drafted.
This is great for Michigan fans because now Ohio State has to play backups next year.
Let's see who the Steelers are taking here. Steelers at 25 are taking Artie Burns. Huh.
Yeah.
Can't say I know him. Can't say I'm familiar with Artie Burns. I know he's a Miami. Okay. Don't know.
Miami, Florida State. Any corners out of any school in Florida is going to be good.
You're right. Florida State, Miami always produce great corners.
They produce great corners and great
receivers.
Great receivers. Absolutely.
All the sort of like the show-off positions, They're the best at that.
Is this your own show, the VicLombardi.com?
I don't even know if anybody's watching, to be honest with you, but we're broadcasting.
What are we on?
Just to make it look like we're doing it.
Broncos just traded with Seattle.
Broncos traded?
Oh, we got to go.
Whoa.
We're on the clock.
Broncos are on the clock.
All right, I got to run back here.
All right, go do your thing.
You need somebody else to sit in?
Take it off.
All right, thanks, Vic.
Take it off. Come on over here, Todd.
See you Tuesday at Cherry Creek.
Yeah, that's more important. All right, here we go.
We're going to play some golf.
We got action. Broncos made a trade.
So
what's that?
He wants the Kyle pick, Kim Diche.
Come over here, talk to me.
I want to go get Kim Diche from Ole Miss.
I don't want that to happen.
It's got to be. Instant starter at a position of need as opposed to taking a project quarterback. That's got to be your guy. You plug him right in from Malik Johnson.
No, because then Kyle keeps right.
No, but he's right, though, because they figure that one of those teams in front of them is going to target Kim Diche, and they got to go up to get him.
The Broncos have done a fine job in these sort of reconstruction, kind of bringing guys back, and supposed bad behavior, strong culture here. It makes a lot of sense.
Did you read that ESPN.com feature on Kim Diche?
It was remarkable. It really was. I think there's a lot to work with here. I hope that is where Denver's going.
I think Kim Diche is one of those guys. He's much smarter than.
So
he
you're not
on.
giving Lynch any chance here.
I'd be shocked if this were Paxton Lynch.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're giving him no shot.
I'd be shocked.
I liked Robinson in this slot.
Let's see what
Ashawn Robinson, defensive tackle, is who I liked.
I love when there's action like this.
So what did they give up? Let's see what they gave up.
They're the 94th pick in the
third round, which was their own third because you can't trade.
And 34th.
Okay, so you gave up a third rounder and miss up. You already had a third round compensatory
pick. They got 10 picks.
Right,
we knew
and we knew
they were 10 picks.
So
that's interesting.
You traded your third rounder. You still have your compensatory third rounder.
Yeah, that's nothing.
To get the player you wanted.
If this is Kim Diche, that is a steal for the Broncos, in my opinion.
And it would be how many years? 3 out of 4 years where they took a player that had an issue, or 3 years in a row?
And they traded up to get him.
3 years in a row?
Just like Shane Ray. Remember, they traded up to get Shane Ray. So
he was supposed to be in the top 10.
Same exact situation. A lot of people online are saying Paxton Lynch. I think it's Kim Diche. because Sean's exactly right. It fills a position of need. I'm always for BPA, best player available. I get that.
So am I. Your
Unless-
brother and I just had this conversation.
But if it fills a position of need, and you can never have enough defensive linemen ever.
That's why they won the game.
Ever.
That's why they won the Super Bowl
Ever.
last year.
I mean, did anybody watch Malik Jackson? I'm wondering if anybody. This guy can be every bit as good.
Oh, yeah.
Every bit as good. I can't wait to hear this. All right, so we're 4 minutes. Let's go. Where's Elway's usually down here telling us
Well,
who the pick is before everybody else finds out.
So they gave him a third-round pick, the last in the third round, right?
let's see.
Last pick in the third round.
And that's nothing. That's basically a fourth rounder. We're
I think
waiting
you
on
could
what
go
the
Dax
Broncos are doing.
Prescott later and get Kim Diche now.
So, again, if you missed it, the Broncos have traded their first-round pick, 31 overall, and a third-round pick, 94 overall, to Seattle to move up
5 slots.
All right. A lot of people here in this
Who did they
room
trade in front
seem
of?
to think it is
It's
Paxton
Paxton
Lynch. I
Lynch.
think it's in Kimdiche. They moved. Let me tell you, this will tell us if it's a quarterback. Green Bay does not need a quarterback.
Kansas City
Kansas
does.
City, not really. New England.
You don't think
oh,
Kansas
they're
City
not
needs
even
quarterback?
on here.
It's- check-
Arizona may. Arizona may.
So there's 2 Kansas City with the check down.
Nah,
Check down, Alex.
they're not going to go after a quarterback. Not this early.
What you describe as a project that won't start next year. Really?
All right, let's see who this is. Come on, make this pick. The pick is in. About to find out who the Denver Broncos have selected in the first round of the 2016
Is
draft.
it Paxton Lynch? Is it Kim Diche? Is it Robinson?
Well, if it's Kimdiche, I got to figure out how to pronounce his name properly because I've already
Kyle's already
called him 3
perfected
different
it.
things. Kimdiche,
Kim Diche.
not Kimdiche.
Because the N is silent.
Okay, Kimdiche.
The N is silent. If you take the N off, it's all good. Kim Diche.
Let's see. And usually they come down and give us.
Is it Lynch?
It's Lynch?
Dude,
Are
told
you
ya.
kidding me? It's Paxton Lynch? That is shocking to me. I am
Paxton
shocked.
Lynch.
I'm shocked
Our
right
producer,
now.
Ari, he
I'm
texted
shocked.
me a little while
All
ago. He
right,
said,
all
look
right.
at this. He says, he
I'm
goes,
shocked.
hey, what's the inside word on the Broncos pick? And I said, I think that falls for Paxton Lynch. Look at that. He
I'm
says,
shocked.
Todd, he got an 18
Yeah.
on the Wonderlic
Yeah.
test.
You know what this means, right? You know what this means.
Mark Sanchez is your starting quarterback.
Mark Sanchez is your
And
starter,
Colin
and Colin
Kaepernick's not
Kaepernick's
coming
not
to
coming to Denver. Yeah. Yep. Paxton Lynch. This changes
I thought
everything.
that they were going to have to trade up to get him. I like
Let
him.
me
You
tweet
don't
this
like
out.
him. I like him.
I'm not saying I don't like him. I think he's a project.
I agree.
I think he's a 3 or 4 year project.
I don't think he's that long.
This changes everything. Let me write this down. No cap trade.
Kaepernick
Don't
trade
see-
is
don't see
off.
that happen.
Well, now your third rounder's gone, Vic, and you can't trade your compensatory pick.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Let's hear the announcement.
How this Make-A-Wish? This is cool. How about this? Having a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid do the pick.
Yeah, no, this is
That's
cool.
awesome.
Mark Cos did a great story on this kid.
Have granted hundreds of wishes to children with challenging medical conditions. We are proud to welcome tonight
Paxton Lynch.
cancer survivor Daniel Halpern from Denver.
The future. You don't pick a quarterback in the first round unless you make him the future.
Well, he's got another 6'5", 6'6" quarterback he picked a couple years ago. How long did Brock watch? You're not happy about it.
I'm not. You know, Mark Sanchez gets hurt, and now Paxton Lynch is your starting quarterback for a team that just went to the Super Bowl?
So Simeon is not even in the conversation here?
I doubt it. You don't draft a first-round quarterback.
If Simeon's got a chance.
Exactly. You just don't. I'm shocked.
2016 NFL Draft. The Denver Broncos select Paxton Lynch.
Wow, they were high on him. My buddy SoCal, my buddy Chris Bowers,
Let me
Southern
write here.
California.
I'm typing a tweet. Not convinced here.
Wow, he's going to play for John Elway and Gary Kubiak. Wow, he's all jacked up. Look at that.
If Sanchez gets hurt, Paxton Lynch.
Wow, this kid's emotional. Look at this. You're missing some great TV.
Is he
This
crying?
Emotion, Vic.
He looks like a pirate.
Hey, what was Tebow? 25th pick? I bet it'll be better than
Yeah.
Tebow.
He looks like a pirate.
Arg, matey. Oh, I lied. I could do another impression.
You can.
I did. Orale, man, I did cheat earlier.
Paxton Lynch. So if
It's all right, Holmes. All right. Got the twice pipes, man. You know the shark tooth Chevy, man, and the the blue diamond on and some baby booties hanging out the mirror.
All right,
Wow.
Let's hear what Mayock says
Yeah.
here.
He loves him. Look at Matt Russell.
They're sold. You think? They're psyched.
They think they
Okay.
got a steal.
All right, they turned down the sound, which means that
John's
Elway's
coming
on
out.
his way down.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear from Elway and company on Paxton Lynch. And we're going to carry this press conference here. So for those of you who want to listen,
Conference call in just a few minutes, and when we do that, we'll have a microphone that will pass around the room. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, and we'll get to you.
Well, listen, you the one thing about Denver, Vic, you know that this team not only reinvests in it's everything Pat Bowlen's blueprint has been. This is not a Kansas City Chiefs organization or something like that tries to make a buck all the time.
no, this team takes
this
chances.
team takes chances.
It takes
This
chances.
team
and you can
reinvests.
afford. Listen, I don't mind taking chances at certain positions, but in my opinion, you don't take a chance at that position
When you're in a Super Bowl window,
if you've got a defense that the Broncos have.
Super
And
Bowl
it's a
window.
Super Bowl, exactly. I'm just telling you right now, Mark Sanchez is your starting quarterback. If Mark Sanchez gets hurt, this kid is supposed to carry your team to a Super Bowl championship. Think about that for a second. I just want you
listen,
to
you
think
know,
about that for a second.
You know when the Broncos went back-to-back, when they went Packers, Atlanta. And I was talking about Tom Nalen about this. There may not have been a healthier team in back-to-back years in NFL history than the Broncos were in that 2-year stretch. You're telling me the Denver defense is going to stay that healthy?
Hey, look at this. They're already passing out the info on Paxton
Boy,
Lynch. You
they-
think the PR team knew about
yeah.
this a while back? Very nice. Ryan Fitzpatrick's giving us information on Paxton Lynch. You are Ryan Fitzpatrick, right?
Boy, he is a lookalike. He's got the full beard almost.
Yeah,
Let's
Ryan
put him on.
Fitzpatrick's now a member of the Broncos. He's here in suit and tie. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
Doing my part. We didn't know it was a speaking part, and he threw it out there.
Okay, let's read some of the.
Let's see what's going on here.
6'7", 245.
Size, arm mobility. I do like his mobility.
Oh, they're all psyched up over there. Son of David and Stacy Lynch. Brother Evan is a pitcher at Stetson.
So,
father played
by
basketball
the way, Stetson,
at Texas
I've been to
Wesleyan.
Stetson.
His father played basketball.
Florida. Stetson's in Florida, right?
He was a major in sports and leisure.
It sounds like, hey, I
Pretty
can
much
pass
his-
that class.
Pretty much his career right now, sports and leisure.
Right.
You just got to hold the mic up.
That's it?
Yeah, I think we'll hear it. Yeah. All right. So when Elway comes down, we'll hear what he has to say about this. I'm very eager to hear from Elway, to see what he saw. I want to see what he saw. Obviously, he knows more about the quarterback position than all of us in this room combined. But
well, look, and you and John are tight, but I don't know that he's going to ask your permission.
No.
And you guys are boys and all, but
I just worry. Again, I just worry that you take too much into account when a quarterback.
Are you stuck on the spread offense going into a pro set?
I'm stuck on Sanchez surviving a season.
You really got a problem with Mark Sanchez. See, I like it.
No, I think if Sanchez gets hurt,
Okay.
I don't have a problem with Sanchez.
All right.
I don't
So
have a problem.
now, Keith, your partner, can't stand the move.
I don't have a problem with Sanchez at all. I think he's a capable quarterback. But
I thought you were going to have to trade up to 18 to get him, Vic. I talked about it on the summit, which, by the way, you were absent this week. So I stepped in. I talked about it on the summit. I thought that, hey, maybe you trade up to 18 or so to be able to get him. To be able to get him at 26 is pretty strong.
I just got this from somebody in the know here. Lynch is a good dude. His dad is a Steelers fan. His mom is a Cowboys fan. They met working at El Chico restaurant in Lubbock, Texas.
Dude, that is the inside scoop. So, wait a minute. Which one's the Cowboy fan, mom or dad?
Dad is a Steelers fan. Mom
Okay.
is a Cowboys fan. And the parents met at El Chico restaurant in Lubbock, Texas.
So you got
Won't hear that anywhere
opposite
else.
ends. So you got opposite
Yeah.
ends. You got the East Coast. You got South. Now you got somebody in the middle.
Paxton Lynch, in case you haven't heard, sort of carries himself or fashions himself after Cam Newton. I don't know. What do you think about that?
All right, as long as there's no
I
dabbing.
don't
With
thi-
a
I don't-
Southern drawl?
I don't think you should be comparing yourself to quarterbacks in the league already.
No.
I'm not a big fan.
Well,
of
was
that,
he
but
asked that? How was that?
Maybe.
Now,
yeah, you're
listen,
right. That's
maybe
unfair
it
of
may
me
have
to
been
say that.
somebody say, if you had to pick
Exactly,
somebody,
yeah.
who would that be?
Yeah, you're right. Let's see what kind of reaction I got from
Twitterverse?
Yeah.
My buddy says, so you want to be part of the lynch mob? SoCal. So that's the new, is that going to be the new catchphrase? You want to be part of the lynch mob?
Some guy just called me Negative Nancy. Negative Nancy.
Dude, he is 6'7", 245 and can move. Right?
Yeah.
6'7", 245 and can move. Hey,
Hold on, let me react to this guy.
I like your mic flag, by the way. Viklam, did your brother do that too?
He did. I am the least negative guy you'll ever meet.
Least ever?
What's going on here?
I don't know. A couple of CU hoop players here, I think. Well, Miles Jack.
Where did he go after?
No, they're talking about him right now. Green Bay's already in. So John's usually down here a little quicker. Vic?
I think what happened is they're talking to Paxton Lynch.
He needs microfracture surgery.
You know, it's funny. I'm getting a lot of people react on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's a great pick because he's mobile, big, and strong." Wasn't that Brock Osweiler?
I don't know how big, I don't know how strong Brock is. I think this kid's
took a
thicker
lot of
than I
hits.
think this kid's thicker than Brock
You're
is.
getting a call. SoCal?
SoCal. He's the one that came up with Lynch Mob.
Oh.
I'm on the air talking about you. What more do you want? You're calling me while I'm on the air? Talking to you. Lynch Mob. I threw out your nickname, Lynch Mob. There you go. This guy's a psycho, man. I'm telling you. He's out of control. SoCal. He has to call. I'm talking about him. That wasn't enough, so he had to call too.
Doesn't he look
What
like
do
a
you-
pirate?
Let me see him.
No, I'm just reading some of the can't be worse than Peyton's helium field throws. I mean, we've gone through this. It's more than just the throws. It's operating an offense.
We drafted
It's-
ahead of Rodgers' replacement.
Let's see what else. Still just as good an option as Brock. You don't know that yet.
Well, and here, I doubt he will start unless Sanchez is another potential. Of course, he's not. This is not a starter next year. Here we go. Here's the next pick.
Let's
Boy,
see.
Kimdiche, you know what's funny? Kimdiche is falling, Vic, like a stone.
Falling a lot farther than I thought he would.
Oh
to be
yeah,
honest with you.
I thought. You know what I think, Vic? I think Seattle's taking him. I think Seattle traded back, thinking, you know why? Because Seattle wants a defensive tackle. Kimdiche and Ashawn Robinson is still
Somebody
on board.
just asked about Trevor Siemian. You don't pick a quarterback in the first round if you have faith in Trevor Siemian.
Absolutely agree.
So let me type that.
Oh, there's Lynch right there. Look at him move. Lynch wears number 12. I believe that. Who wears number 12 for the Broncos? Wide receiver.
Caldwell.
Bubba. Did Bubba resign?
Look at the.
Let's look at the roster. Is number 12 available?
Bubba was still on the roster.
Number 12 is
He's
available.
available.
So
Bubba's
the
a
Cosmic
free agent.
so Bubba's not here anymore. You know, you don't hear that.
How do you spell Simeon's last name? I always get that
Simien. Is that
There
right?
it is. S-I-S. You got to be very careful with that.
Am I right or no?
S-I-E-M.
Oh, no, I was wrong. Spelling is, dude, sportscasters can't spell. You know better than that.
You spell it phonetically is what you do. I-A-N.
Can you spell phonetically?
No, I can't spell that either.
Dude, how about that? Bubba Caldwell, did you hear? I mean, did you even know that he left for sure?
I didn't realize
So
that.
number
I guess he's a
12
free
is
agent
available.
still.
So here's the question. If Bubba Caldwell re-signs with the Broncos, who gets number 12?
Well, the veteran should have first dibs, but he's not going to re-sign before this guy arrives, so this guy could take the number right before he
Right,
gets
and
back.
it's going to be slotted, so your pick's not, it's not going to take a long time.
I can't believe the Broncos took a quarterback in the first round. That's shocking.
You think it's forced?
Yeah. You know, I hope I'm wrong.
We'll see. We're going to see what.
Yeah, I do. That's the best way.
Now-
best way to put it.
But you know what? When they
I mean,
traded ahead of the Chiefs,
They had Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's handing out these sheets over here.
he looks just like him too.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, he's moving out of the way now.
Hey, Nate and
wanna get Nate's
you guys, why
reaction?
don't you give a couple thoughts on this? I'm done talking. And Sean and Nate, why don't you guys discuss this pick?
Yeah, sure.
Because I've given my opinion. I think it's sort of a reach, but
I do too.
These are fancy.
All right.
sweaty.
Yeah, the fancy
Sweaty
ones.
ears.
Is this the? This is the wobbly. Oh no, it's all taped. It's great. We're
Don't
good.
give me
We're
these if they're
fixed.
sweaty.
We're fixed.
It's disgusting, Vic. You say your headphones are all sweaty. You're also deaf, apparently. Good heavens, those headphones
Yeah,
are loud.
yeah.
So, hey, Ed Werder just tweeted a second ago that the Cowboys were trying to get back into the first round to specifically get Paxton Lynch.
Sure.
So that would explain why the Broncos were trying to get up there as quickly as they could.
Lynch makes a lot of sense for the Cowboys, of course, because Romo's safe.
Hold on, Todd didn't hear me. Ed Werder said the Cowboys were trying to get back into the first round to get Paxton Lynch, and that's what pushed the Broncos to move up. So, and
it would have been a very sensible pick for the Cowboys because, of course, you can afford to wait. If you're Tony Romo, you know, if you have Tony Romo, you know that day is coming eventually, but it's not this year.
Right.
So for the Cowboys to go ahead and pick Paxton Lynch and try to fit him in there and let him learn for a year and then be ready to go, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And if the Broncos did get wind of that, that explains why they wanted to pick it. This clearly, this entire draft was about waiting to see where Paxton Lynch fell in this first round and make sure the Broncos walked away with him.
By the way, we need to clarify this. When they start the conference call with Paxton Lynch, we probably shouldn't be talking.
Yes.
We're just going to have to go radio silent here. So we'll apologize on the broadcast right now.
Yeah.
When I came walking over and Todd said, "What do you think about the pick?" and I went, "Meh."
Yeah.
I'm not thrilled. I'm not disappointed. I'm kind of meh because let's face it, we don't know what happens with these picks until
you have to see the draft as a
while.
completed entity, really, to get an idea of how valuable
they
and
gave
how well
up.
they've done.
The Broncos move up 5 spots.
Give up
a third rounder, the non-conditional or the non-compensatory
94th pick in the draft,
third round pick. So you basically gave up nothing. Let's be honest. You gave up next to nothing to move up 5
Well,
spots.
because you'll have the compensatory only a few picks later.
Right. Because you still have a third round pick.
Yes.
Because of the compensatory picks they got. And here's the other thing to keep in mind: the way the Broncos keep playing this game. They keep getting compensatory picks, Sean, because they keep losing free agents.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to continue as long as you're a successful team.
As you continue to be successful, that's going to continue to happen to you because you have you lost Malik, you lost Trevathan, you lost Bruton. I mean, it keeps happening to this team. So the more that keeps happening with your free agents, the more these compensatory picks are going to keep falling into your lap in one form or another. And so if you have those, it does give you a heck of a lot of freedom to make some deals like this where you can move up a handful of spots. Because I was chatting with one of the other members of the media here in the room that if the Broncos had tried to move up to say 17 or 18,
that would have cost them probably more than this was worth.
Probably a third this year and another second or third next year to be able to get up there. And I don't think that was something that John Elway was willing to do. That's
you
a
hope
smart
not.
move.
Yeah, I think in Lynch's case, for those who haven't followed it very closely, out of Memphis, I would say if you want to make it a short story, he is a better prospect than Brock Osweiler. He was better in college. He's a better prospect than Brock Osweiler.
Okay.
But otherwise, he's similar. John Elway clearly has a type. Paxton Lynch is 6'6" and 3/4, roughly 6'7",
6'7",
roughly the size of Brock Osweiler. Same type of game, better prospect than Osweiler. But of course, Osweiler now had enough experience where he could step in and play last year. Now they're sort of resetting that clock, but they're saving $15 million a year in the process.
Let's be honest. You just grabbed a quarterback who only has 7 fewer starts.
Exactly.
For
and played in more significant games
25% of
his
price.
College career than Osweiler did. So you would think that the learning curve would be a little flatter for Paxton Lynch than it was for Brock Osweiler.
The Niners are on the clock here. The Chiefs traded away their pick. So those of you paying attention to the AFC West, like Sean and I talked about a minute ago, the Chiefs traded away their pick to the Niners. See if the Niners go with Kimdichie here or not. Hold on a moment. Nope. He's a offensive guard, Joshua Garnett. Where's he at? Tennessee? No.
Garnett?
Stanford. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Stanford. We got to turn around and cheat. You guys can see
a
it
little
over
bit,
our shoulder.
right?
So the Broncos.
I can't believe we're not up on all the Pac-12.
So you get the Broncos. Well, I should be as an Oregon State grad. So the Broncos get their quarterback. You get it in the first round, which means you have that 5th-year option automatically.
Which, let's face it, if you're going to need it for any player, that's the kind of player you're going to need it for because you know there's going to be a learning curve. The Broncos, in all honesty, if they're going to be honest with themselves, do not want Paxton Lynch to start this year.
No, you now have you've killed the Kaepernick deal is done. Mike Kliss is here. Mike tweeted that out. I mean, the Kaepernick conversation is over.
Clearly, yes.
It means your Sam Bradford conversation, which I'm not even sure was that strong
I
of a
don't think it was
conversation,
serious.
is over. Anybody that wanted Ryan Fitzpatrick, that conversation is over. What you've done is they moved up because they knew the Cowboys were trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
They pulled off the deal with Seattle. So our hated Super Bowl beatdown turned out to be a good trade partner for you. Seattle's not worried about first-round picks right now, not with the salaries and the guys that they have, so they're perfectly happy to move down. The Broncos move up and get the quarterback, and Sanchez can play for a year.
Well, that should be the plan. The plan is not for him to play any further than a year, certainly.
And then throw Paxton Lynch in. Now, Vic Lombardi made a really good point just a second ago when he said, okay, great, so if something happens to Sanchez, Paxton's your guy. The conference call is going to start, so Sean and I are going to take a little break here. We'll be back with you in a moment.
Paxton, can you hear us? Paxton, can you hear us? Paxton, can you hear us?
There you go.
Long time listener, first time. Long time first time radio guy. Let's go to Steve. Let's go to the next caller. Steve, how you doing? It's not on Beale Street. What do you know somebody is on Beale Street gives
Let's go to Scott Thornton. Scott, you're on the show.
I know. Hello?
Testing, Paxton, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Paxton, congratulations on the pick. You're stepping into a city where you're going to be in the long shadows of not only John Elway, but Peyton Manning. Are you looking forward to this opportunity? How do you think you'll handle the pressure of being in such a quarterback-crazed town?
I can't really do that well. All right. Obviously, I'm very excited, and I understand the role that I have coming in. There's been a lot of great quarterbacks that have come through here, and a good one obviously last year with Peyton. So I know that there's a lot of shoes to fill, but I'm just ready to. I'm glad I'm on a team now. I'm ready to get there and get to work.
Paxton, when you had your visit, how did it end with John and Gary, and what did they tell you about the way they felt you fit this system, and have they told you that you're going to come in and compete for the starting job right away, or do they want you to kind of sit and learn?
I can't really hear the question. Could you just repeat the question to me whenever they ask? I can't really understand. Well, we really didn't get too in depth on that kind of stuff. I know when I met with John, it was just kind of how I was doing and some of my background stuff. Some of the stuff we did in Memphis, and then when I met with Coach QBS, it was pretty short. We just kind of talked a little bit about my meeting with him was not that long at all. So, we didn't talk in depth about too much of everything. But I'm sure I'll know more whenever I get to them tomorrow.
Paxton, what is the challenge of moving under center, and when's the last time you might have, been in a huddle and been under center as a quarterback?
I'm very comfortable under center as of right now, just because of all the work we've been putting into it since I left Memphis and getting ready for the combine, getting ready for my pro day. So that's all I've been doing. I haven't been doing any of the shotgun stuff, just mostly under center for work. Speeding that up and quickening my tempo. And huddle-wise, we did a little bit at Memphis, But my freshman year at Memphis, we were just a basic huddle team, so we were calling the play all the time in the huddle, and then we got away from that with more of the spread. So we did a little bit of call plays in the huddle towards obviously in my career there in the red zone, but consistently calling plays in the huddle was probably my freshman year.
Paxton, can you tell us what it was like when you received that phone call? You've waited a lifetime for this.
It was honestly the greatest feeling I probably ever felt my whole life, just because the heart. I know the work I put into this and all the stuff that you kind of go through leading up to this process and meeting all these people and talking to all these people, and you kind of just want to get picked and go to the team and get to work, and that's kind of how I felt about it. And this is a dream come true to me, and the Denver Bronco organization is obviously one of the best in the league.
It's a good team, and also you've got some good receivers. How excited are you to potentially throw to Demaryius Thomas and Manuel Sanders?
I'm obviously really excited. I know at Memphis, we have some good players that can make plays around me, and obviously watching the Broncos this year, and Peyton, he had weapons all over the place, and the way they worked for him and the way he worked for them, was incredible to watch. So I know that they have weapons on the offensive side of the ball as well as the defensive side of the ball.
Paxton, you're being called a project. Do you consider yourself a project? And do you believe you can come in here right away and compete for the number one job?
I wouldn't say I'm a project, but obviously every quarterback coming out of college has stuff that they need to work on, and they're not applying for the NFL just because they've never been there, they haven't played in that system or anything like that with that kind of talent level. So I don't think any quarterback is ready. So I guess you can typically say every quarterback is a project when they first get in, but there's some good quarterbacks on the roster now, so I know that'll be good competition between all of us.
While we're waiting for that to wrap up, we'll get you up on where we are after Paxton Lynch was drafted. Kenny Clark of UCLA, nose tackle, was drafted 27th by the Packers. Guard Joshua Garnett from Stanford, we talked about that, 28th by the Niners. Robert Nkemdiche was finally selected out of Ole Miss, one of the more controversial players in the draft, selected at number 30 by the Cardinals. That catches you up. There are two selections left in this round: the Carolina Panthers as the runner-up for the Super Bowl, and the Seattle Seahawks in what was Denver's selection only a few moments ago.
I like that. You recapped that really well. That was really good.
I'm a professional, Nate, as it turns out.
Professional what?
Yeah,
hey,
that's
you
the
want to know
question.
how good? Hey, can I show you this? You want to know how good Paxton Lynch is? He sold the sponsorship to his draft party to Wingstop. You want to know how smart this kid is? His Periscope and everything, I think it was an 18. His Periscope and everything is sponsored by Wingstop. That's how good Paxton Lynch is.
John Elway's kind of guy right there, a little opportunistic businessman.
Paxton Lynch sold a sponsorship to his draft party. Freaking brilliant. I'll take him.
There's a guy who emceed a draft party tonight.
I'm sold.
There
Mic
you
drop.
go.
I'm in.
It'll be interesting to
Vic,
see how this
have you ever
quiz
sold a
turns out.
sponsorship to a party at your own house?
Oh.
Really?
He
Was it an alcohol?
You did it? That's the wrong guy to
Vic
ask.
Lombardi.com. I was going to say. To like a local restaurant, good Italian wine, something like that. Anyway.
This will be an interesting
that's
selection.
Pretty impressive.
Let's ask the question. Obviously, this is going to be on all Broncos fans' minds anyway. Can Paxton Lynch can he basically compete and maybe even win this job for Mark Sanchez?
No.
I mean, the first thought process is no. Do you think that's set in stone, or do you think Mark Sanchez can?
I don't think it's set in stone.
Look
But I
like
think
Mark Sanchez
but I
has
think
looked to
it's-
maybe lose this.
I think that there will be a conversation that takes place between John Elway and Gary Kubiak and Paxton Lynch that says, just chill, just settle down. You know what? If you come out and you completely blow us away, we'll have that conversation. But we're not going to have that conversation now. Right now, you are coming in because we think that you can help us, not only now, but in the future. And they leave it at that.
And this is probably maybe being a little bit jaded with my experience with watching Mark Sanchez. See, I'm not sure that Mark Sanchez is so impressive a quarterback that Paxton Lynch may not be able to beat him for this job. I think it's entirely possible. We're treating Mark Sanchez as if he's been shown some sure professional.
No.
He's had a couple good performances. At his age, experience, not that he's an old man, but he's not new to the league. I'm not entirely convinced that this job is just sewn up for him. Just Lynch has been selected.
I don't think anything is so. I think there are a few.
And don't overlook Trevor Siemian, who the Broncos like a great deal.
Oh, come on. Settle down. Always some third-string quarterback.
Or Mark Sanchez.
Right.
That's
who
the
was
concern.
actually drafted. But,
right.
I think Mark Sanchez starts week 1.
I do too.
I just do. But
does he finish as the
John-
starter? There it's up for debate,
that
right?
I don't know.
There
That
it's
I
up
don't
for
know.
debate.
That could change. That could change based on how the year goes. You know that.
Sure.
That could change on how the year goes.
Well, Lynch is the future. Sanchez. We learned a couple things. Kaepernick trade's done. We learned that Sanchez is probably the starter, but we also learned that Sanchez, to no one's surprise, is absolutely not the long-term answer.
I mean, if
you
Sanchez
don't select
if
Paxton
Sanchez,
Lynch to make him the answer.
if Sanchez runs into the back of Max Garcia and falls on the ground, and we're done.
That discussion
we're done.
needs to be reopened.
Yeah. So we've got Carolina's pick, and then Seattle, who traded with the Broncos, and then they've turned on the house lights within the media room here, which means that I'm sure that John and and Gary are Elway and Kubiak are on their way in because they've turned off the TV as well. So we'll have to follow Twitter to see who those last couple of picks are. Not a big surprise.
Yeah, that's
that
easy
they
enough to do.
get set there. But yeah, Arizona took Robert Kimdichie. I wouldn't have minded to see that in a Broncos uniform.
I would have preferred it, quite frankly. But Paxton Lynch, I think, is a good pick. I think it's a good value. I think it's a good gamble. Long term, he may be an
it's a good play.
outstanding quarterback.
It's a good play. Vic is wandering around entertaining all of you on Twitter, I'm sure.
And the bright side for Broncos fans is you didn't even have to wait as long to get the quarterback answer as you thought.
Let's see. Carolina is going to go with Vernon Butler, the is he a tackle?
Tackle, I believe, from Miami, right? Am I remembering the right guy?
No, he's out of Louisiana Tech.
Oh, okay.
So we got one pick left, and then the first round is over. Then, of course, rounds 2 and 3 tomorrow night, and then rounds 4 through 7 take place on Saturday as Shu tests all the microphones up front, and we get ready for
that's
the
Eric
guys to
Schubert,
come in.
the guy behind us there.
That is Eric Schubert, one of the great PR guys for the Broncos.
Yes, indeed.
Looking for some other little news and notes.
Well, where do the Broncos, Nate, when you look at this now, where do you think they go next? When now they've got the quarterback.
Offensive
now
line.
this is answered. You think it'll be offensive line despite the fact they've revamped it. You have Okung, you have Stevenson, you now have Sombrilo and Garcia
you know me.
ostensibly a guard.
You know me, though. I love as much depth as you can possibly get offensive
Me
and
too.
defensive line.
I am. Look, games are still won in the trenches, no matter as much as people talk about it. And one of the things that is next on the list for the Broncos, offensive line is always. There's never such thing as enough depth. The Broncos have learned that the hard way over the last couple of years. Granted, it's worked out well enough for them, but it has not been without its certain pains at times. And now with the loss of Malik Jackson to free agency, you are missing a significant hole on the line. And as great as the linebackers are, as great as their defensive backfield is, those guys can't do their jobs without consistent pressure from the front line, and you are now missing one of your major cogs that needs replaced.
And I'm going to be okay with defensive line. I'd be okay with some offensive line depth. I'd be okay with a safety if there's a good one
And
on
I think
board.
those are the three positions you're looking at, quite frankly.
I'd be fine with that. But they've got enough picks; they can play around with them. Let's face it, we know what they did drafting Malik Jackson. They know we know what they've done in late rounds. So
Right.
I'm going to be okay if it turns into late rounds again.
Yeah.
of defensive linemen and guys that you just say, okay, let's see what happens.
Exactly.
We kind of like this guy. He kind of fits it. Let's see what he can do. Let's give him a year in the system and let's pay him a minimal salary because we drafted him late, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
I think we'll be waiting a while. I don't expect the Broncos to probably trade up in the second round tomorrow. I think they've probably used the ammunition that they had to trade up with to go get Paxton Lynch.
So I know that.
Guys, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll find you with a microphone. Well, lead us off, Mike.
Yeah, guys, did you start the day targeting this was the guy you wanted, Paxton Lynch, to be you wanted to take care of the quarterback situation?
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
We did. We started working early. We started working, we worked the phones from noon on today to try to find where we could slide in, and we talked to everybody starting at 17 all the way up, and finally were able to do a deal with the Seahawks, and so, we're thrilled to do it. We were thrilled that we were able to do that, and Paxton was still there, and we're extremely excited. He's a big, athletic, strong young guy that fits us perfectly, and so, we're really excited that we're able to get the deal done.
Does that mean you're done trying to add quarterbacks? Does this kind of put you where you want to be?
I think we're going to continue to look at other quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks too. I think that right now we have Mark as well as Trevor and now Paxton, so we've got two real young guys and a veteran. So we'll stay open to everything. Obviously, we've got to fill out our roster once we get through the draft, and so we'll have spots, and so we'll continue to look and see if we possibly add another veteran quarterback too.
John and Gary, does it end the pursuit of Kaepernick specifically for John? And then Gary, what did you see on film? You've done this for a long time. What did you see that grabbed you about Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, we're probably over with Kaepernick, and we're thrilled. Like I said, we're thrilled to be able to get Paxton and have Mark in here that we talked about before. So we're thrilled to get Mark, and so his experience and that he's going to come in and compete for that job with Paxton and Trevor and see what else we add. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I really enjoyed my visit with him when he came in. That's a great opportunity to spend some time with, these prospects. So great visit with him. When I watch him on film, the thing that's really exciting is, this guy extends plays. He has a knack for making people miss, extending plays, and it's really hard in this business to coach guys to keep their eyes down the field when they're moving, and this guy does a great job of that. So big, strong kid, make all the throws, moves around very, very well, and like I said, very motivated too. That's one thing I really liked about him when he's here, how motivated he is to come in here and be successful. So this feel very fortunate.
And just to add to Gary's comment there, the other thing that I think really was thing that we really liked about Paxton is the enthusiasm that he plays the game with. I think if you watch the tape, he's the first down there. If they have a long touchdown or whatnot, Paxton's the first one down there in the end zone to congratulate the guy, and so he's involved. And so I think we really liked that what we saw on tape, and his enthusiasm and the way he plays the game.
John, this is the first time you've taken an offensive player with your first pick. Do you expect Paxton to compete for the starting job right away, or in an ideal situation, would he sit and wait?
Yeah, they're all going to compete. The great thing about our situation right now with Mark and Trevor and of course Paxton now, they're all coming up together. Even though Mark's a veteran player, he's new in our system, so the growth together will be be a good situation for all three of them. But there's no givens on our teams. Everybody competes, and I'm expecting him to come in here and make up some ground really quick. But I think it's a great group to go to work with, and I know Napper and Rico are very excited about it. So, got to make up as much ground as we can.
John, were you prepared to trade ahead of the Jets at 20 if you felt that they were going to take Paxton, or through the research you did, you knew that they weren't going to take him?
Well, you never know for sure, but I think like I said, we started as high as Atlanta up there, we talked to Atlanta a little bit. We really talked to everybody, but the price was a little bit too steep at that point in time. And so, it was our feeling that the Jets were not going to take him. The information that we had is that we felt that he was going to get past the Jets. My biggest concern was what was coming from behind us. And so that's really what my biggest concern was, and our biggest concern was we didn't know who was going to come. We thought for sure someone would be coming from behind us, and from all the information we're getting back now, there were a couple teams that were coming behind us, and so we were thrilled that we were able to get the deal done with Seattle.
Paxton told us that his meetings with you guys wasn't really all that in-depth or that were all really that long. Did you already have a good feeling that you didn't need to grill him all that much before he came in? There was just some loose ends you wanted to get to know character-wise, or how did that go about?
Well, I mean, that's how when I meet with everybody, I try to find out a little bit about them. I don't sit there and grill them for an hour. I mean, I just try to get a feel for them, what they are. Now, obviously, they spend a lot of time with our coaches and on the board and film, and so that's where the information that, Greg Knapp spent a lot of time with Paxton, and so a lot of our information comes from Greg and how we got on the board. But for me, when I meet with these kids, it's a matter of me kind of getting to know them, know their background, and just get a feel for them. So that's always we want to just get to know them.
I'd echo that. I mean, the biggest thing when you come back from Indianapolis, Napper had a vast amount of information, from his interviews with him and stuff. So what we're trying to do is expand on that. So after John spends a little time with him, I spend a little time with him in my office there for a while. Actually, we talked about on our phone call about I had a visit with him that I'll keep private for a while, but it was a very good visit. And Napper and Rick, we passed him down the hall, and but he fit in very well. I mean, did a great job when he was here, and like I said, that was a very big piece of the puzzle. I thought it was a great visit.
Yeah, Gary. A lot of people, the Monsters, draftmen, say that Paxton needs a redshirt year because of the shotgun that he played. Is this also a vote of confidence in Mark Sanchez that he can take this team where you
No, we have a lot of confidence in Mark. He's doing a great job, working extremely hard. As far as Paxton played under center. I mean, he was under center some. He's shown the ability to do everything that we need him to do. So I think we can make up a lot of ground very quickly in how he plays and what I saw him do throughout his college time. But I don't see that as an issue at all. I think one of the big things John and I did see was we saw him do all the things that we want him to do from a movement standpoint, playing out of the gun, throwing the ball out of the pocket, getting up under center, moving, those type of things. So, all those things we're looking for, we're able to see very easily.
Time for a few more.
John, was this about the player or the position? Would you have taken a quarterback regardless early in the draft?
Regardless of what?
If Paxton was there or not?
Well, Paxton's the guy that we had after the first two quarterbacks, were gone. I mean, Paxton was the guy that we had targeted. And so, I mean, that's where it was a long night. I mean, it's been a long couple of months, actually. And so it kind of, tonight when Paxton was there and we were able to get up there and get Paxton. So he was our target all day, and he was our target, once those the first two quarterbacks went in and trying to figure out where he might fall and if we had an opportunity to do something. So, he was the guy, and we're thrilled to have him.
The last one, Mark.
So you said all three guys will compete. You guys have a Super Bowl roster. What would it take for a rookie to convince you that he's ready to be your starter?
We'll take it a day at a time. First off, we know he has the ability to do that, and that's why we stepped up and went and got him. But we'll put him in the right situation. Like you said, if he's coming to a good football team, he needs to stay focused on his job and his growth and what he needs to do. And one thing about our team, our guys will embrace him and they will help him. We've got a lot of good people around him, and as a quarterback, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Okay, thank you.
Victor.
This is great. Vic's just BSing with John Elway. No big deal.
Well, that was interesting. It was pretty obvious, if you listened, that they were after this guy from the get-go. My only question is this, Sean. and that's why I had to ask whether it was the player or the position, because there's a big distinction there.
Absolutely there is.
If it's the player, you're willing to give up anything. You're willing to go up as high as you can. I mean, why not move up to 10th, 11th for fear that there may be another team? You don't have knowledge that another team you might have some knowledge, but you're not 100% sure that a team between 10 and 15 may take them. So I just wonder, how much are they sold on the player or how much are they sold on the position? That's a big difference.
And I don't think we know, because you talk about how much it takes to move up in the first round, even just a few picks. It still took them one of their third rounders, so it's not an insignificant cost to pay just to move up that much. So I think they're excited. Obviously, when you talk about the player and quarterback, Goff and Wentz were not options.
Yeah.
At no point were they options. So basically John Elway came in and said, this was our target today, period.
Yeah.
They wanted to come away from tonight with Paxton Lynch. So I think it's a little bit of both. We're not blind to the fact that the Broncos desperately needed to do something at quarterback position. And it answered a lot of things. It ended the pursuit of Kaepernick. It means that Mark Sanchez is a stopgap and not the future of this team. So a lot of things got crystallized, even though maybe it wasn't. It's not going to come to pass as quickly as a lot of Broncos fans want. I think it's a fair question to ask if Mark Sanchez is the starter at the end of the season, not just at week 1. But I think in this case, they valued the player.
Yeah.
And I think John Elway telegraphed it when he said, this is the guy we targeted, and we decided the time we needed to jump in to get him was then.
And I'm not going to question John Elway and Gary Kubiak evaluating the quarterback position. I mean, they evaluate it better than I ever would. The only question I have here is, if you don't add another veteran to this lineup, another veteran quarterback, you know how things can go astray quickly. I don't see this kid coming in right away and being able to lead a team that's already got Super Bowl aspirations going in, already won. You got to have some other guy out there. You have to have another veteran.
You have to give Mark Sanchez competition.
Yes.
We're not talking about a guy
Exactly right.
that's a rock-solid
point.
quarterback. So I think when you look around after this all dust settles, maybe someone like Brian Hoyer may end up coming into training camp with the Broncos, because I don't think given Mark Sanchez the last few years, you don't hand him the job. That doesn't make any sense either. You know you want Lynch to take a little bit of time and learn. So I agree with you entirely. I do not think they're done adding quarterbacks. Is it going to be a big, significant, splashy name? No. But a veteran like a Brian Hoyer who can come in and be in the mix, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Overall, am I stunned? Yes, I'm stunned. Am I hopeful that it works out? Of course. I mean, I'm never going to judge a player or a pick on draft night. I think that's stupid. I always do.
Oh, yeah, you have
now,
no idea.
You can be surprised by the maneuvering, and I'm surprised by the maneuvering. I mean, that's being a pragmatist, I guess. I did not see the Broncos doing this today. I just did not. Clearly, though, you see that it crystallizes their intentions for next year. It really does.
For really the next few years. You know, Paxton Lynch is the goal, and I find it interesting that we learned a little bit more about John Elway, and that is that when he looks at today's quarterback position, he has a type.
Yeah.
He wants a guy 6'6", 6'7", with some mobility. He wants that size. It's important to him. Most comparisons in a lot of ways. Now, Lynch is a better prospect than Osweiler ever was.
He got himself a skinnier Osweiler.
Yeah, but basically he got a cheaper, but John Elway's made it very clear this is his type of quarterback that he believes will succeed in this era of the NFL right now.
Let me get a couple more comments from different people in the crowd. Just want to see different viewpoints. We're going to bring Les down.
Les
why
down?
don't you give
Sure.
the headset over to Les here real quick?
Absolutely.
Sean, thank you very much. See you, Allie. Thanks for coming. See you later. Les, have a seat on the bad microphone here. Tell Todd to hang around, too, because I want to get his take on this. All right. So you saw a calm, cool, and collected John Elway.
Isn't that always the case?
Exactly. Like, no big deal.
Just the way he played.
What do you think?
I think, what can I say online? Can I get a little edgy?
I don't think anybody's watching.
I had a longtime friend of John Elway say to me, he's got cojones of steel. He does. He played it perfectly. I mean, think about it. If he tries to get Paxton Lynch any earlier, he's giving up a second-round pick. Those picks are really valuable. Nobody wants to give up a first, a second.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to give up a third, but he waited long enough that he could get away with giving up only a third.
But did he do so knowing that this kid is going to compete, or if he's going to be just a project? What is he?
Mark Sanchez is going to be your starter. Paxton Lynch
probably needs a year or two. And if you can afford to give him a year or two, you're probably going to reap big benefits down the road.
I think you just said it right there. You have to,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
You know what's surprising, Vic?
Yeah.
And you know, because you've been around John, and you've been around Gary, and you've been around Mark Sanchez, they're really comfortable with the idea of Mark Sanchez.
I know they are.
And I'm trying to read, facial
It's not a
expressions,
rouge.
body language. I'm trying to figure out, are they just jacking with us? Do they really believe that? I think they really believe that. They're comfortable with Mark Sanchez starting at quarterback. Now, I am too, as long as he's got the right supporting cast around him, as long as it's really strong.
Don't you still have to give Sanchez some competition? It's unfair to
Yeah.
say Paxton Lynch is his competition.
Well,
You can't say
but they said that. Trevor Simeon's going into his second year. He knows this offense.
But you can't.
Mark Sanchez doesn't know this
but
offense
you
yet.
can't call him competition. You wouldn't draft a guy in the first round
Probably
if,
not.
if Trevor Simeon is competition.
You know what I would do? I would bring in a free agent quarterback who's out there, and there are a lot of them who are sitting on the sideline.
Exactly.
But I'm not talking about a Hoyer. I'm not talking about
You're talking
a
third
McCown
level.
if he's like. I'm talking a guy like T.J. Yates,
Yeah.
who knows Gary Kubiak's offense
Yeah.
from his days in
And,
Houston
and has played in the postseason.
and has had some success.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's a good
bring
point.
him in to push. And you know what? He could end up being the third quarterback on this roster if Trevor Simeon doesn't come through the way they think or they hope he can come through.
Never ceases to amaze or surprise here at Bronco headquarters with John Elway. I didn't see this coming. I mean, this surprised me. I did not see them moving
Really?
up.
All the Paxton Lynch talk? You didn't see it
I
coming?
didn't see them moving up to make this move. I just didn't. I thought for sure they would probably just sit on that pick or maybe move back in the draft.
I saw them moving up. I didn't see them moving up a long ways, but I also didn't see them moving up such a short ways to get him.
Well,
he got away with something here.
Giving up a third doesn't bother me. You got 10 picks. You're not going to use
Plus
10
another
picks.
third.
You're not going to use all those picks.
You've got another third right around that one.
I know. So that's not the issue. The issue was it really changes the plans that I thought they had in mind. And he said it. The Kaepernick deal's off the table now. That's not happening.
Good.
Well, that's not happening.
Too many red flags there. Way too many red
I still
flags
thought
for
he
me.
could have been rehabilitated, but again, I'm not going to question the intelligence of those two guys who played the position and know that position better than anybody.
I'm going to tell you something I learned tonight. John did a lot of homework personally on Kaepernick, and he didn't like what he was hearing from about Kaepernick as a guy.
We weren't
from
privy
a
to
character,
those discussions.
From a character
Exactly,
standpoint.
yeah.
I was told this tonight by somebody upstairs here.
Yeah.
He actually went to somebody in the building and said, "Is this guy as big an a-hole as I'm being told?" And the guy said, "We're hearing it from a lot of people, aren't we?"
Really?
And John said, "Yes, we are." And I think it scared him away.
Well, did you notice how all he talked about was Paxton Lynch was his affability and all that business?
Character.
I mean, he's really big into that.
Yeah.
And it's part of the position.
Yeah, how he was the first guy running downfield to congratulate a receiver after he scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
It means a lot. It shows an enthusiasm for the game. It shows an ability to get along with teammates.
So just real quick.
Hold on, let's see what we have here.
Okay, is this Paxton Lynch or is this AJ from the Backstreet Boys?
Oh my God, they look exactly alike. I'm not sure.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure if Les, are you familiar with the Backstreet
Of course
Boys?
I am. But you know, if you go to the internet, Nate, and you look up a lot of these pictures of Paxton Lynch, he seems to change his look like every few months.
Just like a Backstreet Boy.
Just like a Backstreet Boy.
Lester, thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you for being part of our first
no
ever
problem.
web broadcast of the NFL
Well,
draft.
one thing,
Todd,
is
come
it
on
not
in.
amazing that this team stays the center of the football universe year after year after year? It started when they fired Mike Shanahan. They bring in Josh McDaniels. The problems with Brandon Marshall and Jay Cutler, Tapegate
been a
with
decade plus.
McDaniels,
It's been a
the
decade
drafting
plus.
of Tim Tebow, 2 Super Bowls, and now, once again, a quarterback. It's always about the quarterback.
That's why we're here doing this thing on the web.
Amazing.
That's why we're doing this.
No, that's why we're
exactly
doing
right.
sports talk radio in this town,
You're right.
because they've always given us enough fodder to last us for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Thank you, Lester.
All right, man.
Appreciate it. Come on in here.
That's actually a perfect statement.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
They're never going to be the Kansas City Chiefs of the world that don't do anything.
All right.
I thought Les made a great point. That
What did you think overall? First of all,
well, first of all, this was
tell me
great.
tell me what you think about the pick before we get into the thoughts on the pick.
Okay, this is truly what I thought about the pick. And if you want to go back to your DVRs, go back. So I was in for you this past week.
Summit.
And I said, listen, I like Robinson, defensive tackle from Alabama.
Yeah.
But if the Broncos can find a way to trade up. And to the teens, it would have taken a first and a second. So John was prepared. If you listen to him about the teens of where he was comfortable of going, they have that scale. Okay, it slides from the number 1 pick on a point scale down to Denver's point value at 31 was 600. To get to 900, which was the 18th pick, it would have taken a first and a second.
Yeah, and they're not going to go that far.
They're not. Well, he was wondering. They started talking that early.
Sure.
But on the summit, I said if they can somehow package a 1 and a 3, Paxton Lynch is in play.
When does this guy start for the Denver Broncos?
Not next year.
Does that
at the
does
best
that,
case
does that
scenario,
concern you?
It did. But when Coobs got up and said, and I don't know why he was pretty honest with us last year when he sat there and said Paxton played a lot under center with his athletic ability. We think we can pick up ground as soon as possible. I'm the eternal optimist, but I do think 6'7", 245. Brock Osweiler, to me, when I see Paxton in person tomorrow, if he comes in tomorrow and we're able to get an interview with him, he seems to me on the surface, when I see the shots of him, a lot thicker. Brock Osweiler to me was very thin in the rib cage. Brock Osweiler's got a lot of rib cage showing. This kid seems to run a little differently.
Yeah, but he's got the pencil-thin mustache. What are you going to do about that?
Well, dude, you're talking to a Mexican Sioux Indian who doesn't grow hair anywhere and who shaves any kind of body hair possible. I know it's a lot of personal information. I don't like cheesy mustache. I tried doing that on my vacation. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, we got to talk to him. All right, that'll do it for our broadcast. We appreciate you sticking with us for the last
And how do you like
hours.
the tape? Your brother hooked it up with tape?
My brother. Special thanks to Adalio for
he's
making
the man.
this work. Sean Drotard, Nate Lundy, Les, Todd Romero, everybody who took part of the broadcast. We'll try and do this more often.
Love it.
Every time the Broncos conduct a draft, because it always – we're not doing this
once
tomorrow.
a year.
I'm telling you, I'm
I
not doing
guarantee
this
it's
tomorrow.
once a year.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, buddy. See you.
All right, man.